Waha. Oops. Oopsies. Hello. Little different. I'm doing an art stream instead of the usual gaming. Unicorn Astro. Hello. Hello. Yes. Astro is a beautiful princess. Oh, hi. Cat came to say hello. I told you I subscribed to notifications. Oh, you. Is this God speaking? Yes, I am God. Right, Loki? As far as my cat's concerned, I am. Right, baby? Sitting in my lap. Just sending out some notifications on my Discord so people know what we're doing here. Start actually stream. Let me double check it's actually on. Loki. I know. Sweet baby boy. There it is. There. Feeling. Hey, no, Loki, Loki, no, Loki. Okay, Loki. Bubba's. Look, can't do this. Alright. I'm gonna start the Reddit story. Oh, start.
I teased my friend's husband about his wife not
This is
recognizing
what
my
I do
son.
in my spare
Now I've
time.
imploded their marriage, they're getting divorced, and all our friends think I've been having a secret affair with her. Posted by you/BurningMan84. So, my wife and I have a 5-year-old son. Our group of friends is mostly couples with kids, as we are nearing our 40s, and many of our gatherings now include meeting up as entire families, kids included. This can sometimes mean a lot of adults and a lot of kids. One person in this group, Emma, used to be my roommate in college. She's married and has her own kids, and we hang out with her and her husband sometimes in a group setting, but rarely on our own. Emma also tends to run late, often. This is all relevant to the story. As our son is an only child, we sometimes worry that he won't really learn to share or get along with other kids.
Emma?
To prevent this, and while I love spending time with him, I sometimes preemptively nudge him to engage with other kids when we are in public playgrounds or at the beach or pool. To that end, when I buy him a water soaker or an RC car or the like, I often just buy 2 or 3. I'll get to the playground and play with him, and when another kid shows interest in the toys, I'll say, "Oh, you want to play with us," and hand them the remote or the soaker or whatever, thus getting the kids to play. This works great quite often, and I have a generally good relationship with the parents in our neighborhood. This is also relevant. One day, about a year ago, my wife and I were planning to take our son to the pool. I packed my large bag of pool toys. Emma texts me, her husband is away that day, and she's looking for something to do with the kids. I talk to my wife and tell Emma we're going to our local pool, and she's welcome to join us, but we're planning on heading there early, so she can just join us whenever. We arrive at the pool pretty early and get a really good spot poolside, right by the shallows. I grab some water soakers, and my kid and I start playing world domination. I'm trying to take over the world and can only be stopped through the power of water soakers. It's a whole thing, and the kid loves it.
Oh, that's
Soon,
cute.
another kid is there, It's a kid from my son's kindergarten class. He's there with his mom. He is, of course, welcome to join us. We know the family, the mom and my wife are pretty friendly, and our kids play together often. My
It
wife
is-
says she wants to go for a swim, and the kid's mom says she wants to join her. She asks if I'm okay watching the kids. I say sure since, by this point, the kids are blasting each other with water soakers, and I'm just chilling poolside, only occasionally having to call out, oh no, my plans for world domination, ruined, because sometimes that's just what parenting is. Then Emma and her kids show up. She's really happy to see me, and I give out toys to her kids. All is going well. Then my son's friend runs up and asks for another toy, and I go, sure thing, and hand it to him. Emma goes, oh my god. So cute. He looks just like you. I laugh and say, okay cool, but this isn't my kid.
Oh,
In her defense, the kid does kind of look like me, making this pretty hilarious. When my wife and the kid's mom come back, I tell them this story. They also find it hilarious. We all have a friendly chuckle but think little of it. Fast forward to a few months ago. I haven't seen Emma in a while. We are at a friends group gathering, and it was a good time all around. When we're about to call it a day, Emma and I are at the entrance. She's grabbing her stuff, and I'm on my second trip from the car, kids' toys, kids' clothes, dirty dishes, Tupperware with leftovers, etc. I call out to Emma's husband, hey, can you call my wife and kid over? Just make sure it's actually my kid and not some random kid who kinda looks like me. I think it's a hilarious callback. He seems confused and kind of angry. He asks what the hell I'm talking about. Why would he call a random kid? I'm also confused, so I tell him the pool story. He doesn't laugh. Emma doesn't laugh either. The whole thing now feels kind of awkward. I awkwardly say goodbye, go grab my wife and kid myself, and we leave. Later that day, I text Emma to ask if everything is alright. I get no reply. I text again a few days later. Still no reply. I get the distinct sense I messed up, but also, if she doesn't want to talk to me, I'm not going to force the issue. I leave well enough alone. At worst, I thought she was mad at a joke I made, which was apparently in poor taste. Boy, did I underestimate the fallout from this joke. A few days ago, I arrive at a friend's place, and Emma's there. This is an engagement party, so no kids. I wasn't supposed to come but decided to at the last minute, and my wife was at home with our kid. Emma sees me and is livid. She wasn't expecting to see me and only came because she thought I wouldn't be there. She does, however, take the opportunity to tear me a new one. She calls me out in front of everyone. Because of my joke, originally said with air quotes, her husband was furious. From what she said, and what I gathered from mutual friends afterward, she had previously commented on someone else's kid looking like someone who wasn't his father. Except that whole thing led to family drama in Emma's husband's family because, in that case, the dude was cheating, and that was his kid, and a whole bunch of people were really hurt in the aftermath. Emma's husband was furious because he apparently thought she would know better than to comment on kids looking like people again. This sent them down a spiral, especially because the husband apparently thought she had told me that other family story, and that I was mocking him for his family drama, and he thought the story I told was just covering for her when I realized I had messed up. This was not the case. I had no idea that whole thing had happened. Still, he didn't believe Emma when she told him. So they are now separated. She calls me a jerk and says I ruined her marriage. I am not a confrontational person. I apologize profusely. I say I didn't know, and if she didn't want me telling the story, she should have said something. She tells me I'm making excuses. This is now a scene. I apologize profusely again and leave quickly after telling the couple a quick congratulations. I am later told this was all anyone could talk about at the party, and now the engaged couple is mad at me too. Emma is even more upset because now everyone knows her drama. I am unfriended and unfollowed on everything. Some friends think I couldn't have known better and that the joke was pretty benign. Other friends say it was in really poor taste to throw her under the bus and that I am totally the jerk. Emma's best friend, who I also know from college, thinks I did know about the thing with her husband and that I'm just covering my own back to get away with being cruel. It has been a few days, and some of my friends will no longer talk to me. Others think she is wrong to blame me and that the marriage was doomed anyway. Still, I feel really guilty about making the joke, and I obviously wouldn't have made it had I known the trouble it would cause. I like Emma, and I didn't want to hurt her. I also liked her husband. I'd like to say that maybe he was wrong to let the marriage implode like that because of a stupid joke, but at the same time, I don't exactly know his family drama or their history, nor the specifics of his relationship with Emma, so I can't really say he's wrong or overreacting. The entire thing just kind of sucks. My wife's got my back, though. She thinks the joke was hilarious and actually thinks me breaking up their marriage makes it even funnier, because WTF. She also loves crazy Reddit stories, so she sent me to post this, so at least I got that going for me, which is nice. Update 1 day later. I am now updating you because the last few hours have been, well, a lot. It turns out that when I wrote my post, I left out one critical piece of context. I thought I was a
Joseph.
regular person living a normal life. Turns out I am Chaz, a side character in the worst Gossip Girl episode ever written. So after posting yesterday, reading replies, and thinking it over, I decided to reach
I
out to
played
Emma
as
one
Boxton
final
with no
time.
trinkets and
Some
tried
of
to
you
join
thought
a
I
pro
shouldn't,
run and
and
they
that
kept
these were,
leaving
in
and then I
fact,
changed it to
not my
V and they
monkeys.
all followed
Others
me.
made me
Yep,
realize
that
that
sounds
Emma was
about right.
probably in a crappy situation
That's
with
about
her
how every
husband and his
lobby
family and
goes.
was actively being gaslit. Now,
It's
of
so
note
nice to
here,
see you. Why is
while,
no one
as I
watching your live
mentioned, we're
stream?
not as close as we
My
used to
art
be,
streams
we
aren't
used to
usually
be
as
very close.
popular. Plus, I
She
just
helped me
started,
pick out a
so.
spot and let me borrow her car for my first date with the person who later became my wife. She was a significant part of my support system during some very
No,
rough times in my
Joseph,
life.
stop. You can't be
Despite
on my
everything,
desk.
I still felt like I cared about her and wanted to work things out. This is no longer the case. See, from my perspective, I thought we were good friends. Then, when she met her husband, we naturally drifted apart, and then this thing happened out of nowhere. This was not what it looked like from her perspective. How do I know? Well, this is going to sound absolutely unhinged. So, last night, before going to bed, I texted her a long, thoughtful message. I explained that I do apologize for the part I played in ruining her marriage, and I understand she is going through a tough time. I understand if she wants nothing more to do with me, but if and when she feels ready to talk it out, she is welcome to reach out, and I'll leave the ball in her court. I show this to my wife, and she is practically giddy. She tells me there is no way this doesn't blow up in my face, and I should have just cut my losses, like many of you all said. Emma shows up at my house around 7 a.m. unannounced. I ask WTF. She says she really needs to talk to me. I call my wife to the door and explain this. She sends me off with this woman because she understands this crap can only go poorly, and apparently, she is here for it and it's my own fault at this point. So, as I said, from my perspective, we were friends who drifted apart. From her perspective, for the last 15 years, she has been playing some weird game of 4D chess. Apparently, she had feelings for me back in college, and she was trying to nice girl her way into a relationship with me by being there for me when my dad died and when I was struggling with being single. She always gave everything because she just assumed I would, at some point, come around. You'd think that me getting married or her getting married would change that, and it did, just, well, badly. Apparently, her husband knew about her feelings, which is why he always kept me at a distance. We never drifted apart, he explicitly asked her not to meet with me anymore outside of large social gatherings. That day at the pool? Yeah, that was her sticking it to him because he was away cheating on her or something, and he didn't like her hanging around me scantily clad. It wasn't just that he was upset at the joke, he was upset because apparently I was having an affair with his wife and rubbing it in his face. Makes no sense? I know. It gets worse. That thing at the engagement party? Well, at least she didn't plan that. I told our friends getting engaged that I wasn't coming. She asked and verified this. She wasn't expecting to see me, and they told her I wouldn't be there, but once I showed up, she decided to exploit it. She intended to have a huge scene with me so that she could tell her estranged husband and friends that I ambushed her because she broke off our affair. Our affair. Apparently we had an affair.
Oh my god, my
What
cat.
affair is that?
Leave me
you ask.
alone, Joseph.
I did too.
Get on my
Apparently,
desk.
the story some people got was that
I'm
she and I were having an
working.
affair, and it ended,
Trying to
and I was stalking her.
speedrun this
Her
animation.
husband left her because he found out. So, people more inclined to believe her just thought that was what happened and
Not
wanted
the
nothing to do with me
attention
anymore.
keeping Mike
So why did her husband
of
actually leave?
Minecraft parkour Reddit
Well,
story.
some of you called it.
Shut up.
According
I
to
love
her,
these,
he was
okay?
cheating on her a bunch and was overall not a nice person. She never actually cheated on him but used me
No,
to pretend that
Joseph,
she
stop.
did, without my knowledge.
No.
So, after the joke at the gathering, which may have indeed been in poor taste, they had a huge fight, and he left the house. As for the thing with his family, from what I gather, it was some dude sleeping with his cousin's wife or something along those family lines. So anyway, she tells me all this insanity and tops it off with, "Your message really moved me, and we can still be friends." The reason she rushed to show up at 7 a.m.? My message made her realize I am actually the only one who really cares
Joseph,
about her, and
stop.
everyone else in her life is fake and doesn't really care. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but now this sounds like some really manipulative crap to me, and now I'm thinking back to a lot of our previous interactions, and a lot of them also seem like that to me now. I am not a confrontational person. I was willing to accept that I messed up. Maybe some of you were right, and the joke was in poor taste, and I'm a huge jerk for making it because I thought that if he knew the story, he would get the call back, and if he didn't, I'd tell him a funny story about his wife. I accept all that criticism. But this? Hell no. I was done. I told her I am done with her crap. She can get back to her husband, leave her husband, keep any friends she wants because
Joseph,
I'm just done.
stop.
I can forgive a lot, but she had basically not been communicating with me for over 15 years. I was telling her everything about my life and my feelings, and I was absolutely appalled by just how much of a one-way street it turned out to be. I feel like I never really knew her. Maybe I played a role in that too. Maybe I was self-centered or selfish and
It's
didn't consider
giving
her emotions or her
Markiplier.
signs.
Jingle, jingle,
I don't know.
jingle.
And you know
Jingling
what?
keys.
At this point, I don't think it matters. She lied to me so much.
My
She lied to so many people so
stimulation
much.
center.
I just don't care anymore. I don't think there's
It
anything
was
left
between
of
this
friendship
and
to
or
fix.
Markiplier
And the
videos,
worst part,
so.
I just gave you this huge update, and I genuinely don't know how much of it is true. Maybe she was completely honest with me. Maybe she lied about everything and we're still playing 4D chess. Who knows? I certainly don't. And that, more than anything, is why this friendship is over, because even if I could forgive everything, I can never really trust her. So
Joseph,
that's that.
stop.
There will probably not be any more updates because
He's
this was
trying to
meant to
jump
be a
up here, and
lighthearted post, and it
if he'd
turned
sit
into
on
a
my
total
lap, he'd be
clusterfuck, and
fine,
I'm
but
just so
he's
tired and so sick. I'm
literally
sorry if this
jumping on
wasn't
my
as
desk
readable
and
or
trying
as
to step on
coherent
my
as my
keyboard.
previous post. This just happened, and I am just exhausted. My wife has been very supportive, though I assume at some point I'm due some well-earned I told you so's. She knows there wasn't an affair, and certainly no stalking, and most of my friends probably know that too. I may try reaching out to some others because, well, I dunno, maybe they were told even worse things about me? But I am just done with this. And now I'm going to spend what's left of this weekend with my family and try to put this mess behind me. Thank you all for reading and for your advice. Second update 3 days later. Some of you thought things were going to get pretty crazy. Before I give the update, I should probably clarify some things that were brought up in the comments. First, when I said we were roommates, I did not mean we shared a literal room. We lived off campus in an apartment with another friend. Each of us had our own room. Second, to clarify, and more on this later, the only person she told about having an affair with me long term was her husband, now ex. Everyone else heard about it only after the engagement party outburst. Third, my house already has cameras and security. My dogs and she never really got along, so I don't think she's going to try anything anyhow. I suppose they were the first to know what was up? Okay, on to the actual update. While unfortunately I do not have the conversation with her recorded, I do have a text from a later time where she confirms making it up. I did not block her because my wife said it might be better to let her incriminate herself further and have it documented, so I just let her do it for a while. Once I got her to admit she made the affair up, I stopped responding. I got increasingly angry texts, but nothing yesterday, so hopefully that's done with. She said some pretty nasty things about my wife, and I considered responding, but my wife laughed it off and said that's just how sore losers are, and I shouldn't engage any further, so I didn't. I also have screenshots from her husband where she talks about the affair she is supposedly having with me. How do I have those, you ask? Well, realizing just how much she lied to me, it occurred to me that almost everything I know about her husband, let's call him Dave, comes, even indirectly, from her. By this point, I suspected she might not be the most honest conveyor of events. So I took a risk and texted him to meet up. We had a long talk, and again, he might be lying, of course, but from what he said, he actually never cheated on her, though she often accused him of that. The innocent mistake she made with his family? Yeah, she felt his cousin's wife was being a little bit too familiar with him, Dave, and started actively spreading the rumor that the kid was his, maliciously. This understandably caused huge backlash and was one of the many things that led Dave to want to leave. The interaction with me, in that context, was just the final straw. Thinking of that now, the mistake she made with me might not have been so innocent, and I think she might have tried to start some drama if my wife or the kid's mom were less good-natured about the whole thing. So anyway, Dave is fighting for full custody, so that can get really ugly. I don't know the legal nuances of divorce, but I assume he's in for a crapstorm. He really likes a lot of our mutual friends and has been a part of the group for quite a while, so he doesn't really want to leave or anything. To be fair, having talked to him versus Emma, I tend to agree. We talked for a long time, and he seems to be a pretty good guy, though I have been wrong before. I offered some support because, well, having read my posts, you can probably guess what divorcing Emma is like. He worries about it, and I understand him completely. So I offered support as best I could and will probably continue to do so. As for my friends, I sort of took y'all's advice, but not really. I didn't do a group text, but I did give a short summary of what happened and some choice screenshots to most of my friends. This started some conversation, and a lot of tea was spilled. Some realizations were made regarding the fact that a lot of drama that plagued our group over the years can actually be attributed to misunderstandings caused by Emma. More tea ensued. My wife is having a blast. So, yeah, some of my friends were gobsmacked since they didn't really hear Emma's story but understood what a clusterflop this was. Others were understanding. Emma's best friend blocked me, so she got nothing, but I suspect she'd remain unswayed regardless, and I suppose that's good. Most people I talked to felt we should probably cut contact with Emma, and that would be that. Her house in our neighborhood is owned by Dave, and she already moved out, so we're not supposed to see too much of her day to day. I don't want to demonize her. I don't think she was evilly cackling as she tried to ruin lives. I think she is a very troubled person, and I still hope she finds peace and friends and relationships that will help her through whatever she's going through, and mostly a good therapist. But this is no longer my circus, and she is not my monkey, so I hope she does all that far away from me. As for my wife, here things get a little tricky. See, my wife confessed that she and Dave were having an affair all this time, and so we are getting a divorce. I'm kidding about the last part, of course. God, could you imagine? No, my wife is awesome and remains awesome. Since the situation seems to be mostly resolved,
I love you, buddy,
she is
but
now
you
allowed to tease me
can't be
about
up here.
it,
You're
which she
being
has
a
been doing.
menace.
A lot. It might take a while to live this down, but otherwise, we are doing well, and for the most part, things seem to have settled down with my friends. Though I may want to reevaluate my relationships with some of the ones who are more inclined to believe some pretty bad things about me. So yeah, that's about it.
No, Joseph,
Sorry
stop!
there wasn't really the crazy showdown some of you may have expected. I do think this thing is behind us now. Thank you all for reading
My
and for your
son
advice.
is pissing me off. Oh, that one's over.
My home.
No
My
ads.
rules. My
No
internet.
ads.
Now that too.
No
Introducing My
ads.
Home from
No
Verizon.
ads.
It's internet made simple.
Skip.
Choose what you need, change when you want, and save on
Why won't it
entertainment
let
you
me
love.
skip it?
Starting at $35 a month. Only on Verizon.
Someone
Since
did
when?
what?
My boyfriend's close friend ruined a dish I worked really hard to make and then made me the bad person for crying about it. Posted by you/gold_wind_5888. My boyfriend, 28M, and I, 22F, met at work 2 years ago. Technically, I was working part-time during undergrad, and he was a customer, but after a couple of months, we started going out. I really love this man, and nothing has happened on this scale before, so I'm very confused about it.
I'll never play starter with no trinkets and try to join pro run because you won't be able to play unless you change into another character like a man. I have seen people like who have V or Sprout or any of the mains. They'll say they're gonna join a pro run and then like a second before it's over they switch to like Boxton or Poppy. It's always so funny. I mean, I would say only do that for groups that are like, no, you can't play with us because you're a Boxton or Poppy. Those people, it's so funny to do it too. You're going to jail. I reported you for child. What is going on? Don't report people. YouTube's stupid. They might actually take down their account. Don't report people. By the way, Lar, who are you going to be for Halloween? I wanted to be the lamb from Cult of the Lamb. I was going to make my own costume, but I didn't have enough money to do it this year. So I'm just going to wear my Akatsuki robe that I have. And I have a Toby mask, but I'll probably just wear the Akatsuki robe and call it good. Very lazy this year, but I didn't have enough money to make my own costume. Doing.
My boyfriend has a very tight group of friends. I am well acquainted with them and their girlfriends. One of them, Dave, is married to Ellie. Ellie is an excellent cook and often hosts dinners, and everyone brings a dessert to those dinners. I am the youngest in the group, so most times they brush off my request to contribute or bring a dessert. However, the last time I asked Dave and Ellie if they wanted anything extra, like wine or some sweet dish for dinner, they said I could bring one of those sweet dishes I make for my boyfriend. I'm Indian, and even though I can't cook as well as my mom and I'm, well, in a different country for studies, I called my mom up and had her teach me properly how to make a specific Bengali sweet, rasagala, which is my favorite.
She's so
I had
silly.
my friends
Look
taste
at her.
it, and they said it was great. My boyfriend ate some and said it was excellent. Except, last night, I greeted Ellie and kept the dish in the kitchen. When the food was brought out and my boyfriend told everyone I made it, I saw that someone had added cinnamon powder to the sweet. You never have the sweet with cinnamon powder. The dessert tasted like cinnamon, and I felt horrible. Though everyone said thank you and it was good, I think my face gave it away, and my boyfriend took me aside and said that Ellie had told him that my sweet looked too white and thought some cinnamon might bring some color to it. I don't know, I just felt awful, and I started to tear up.
Too white for
My
dessert is
boyfriend then
crazy.
defended Ellie and said that his friends already think I'm a child, so I shouldn't make a big deal of this, and we would talk about it later. I told him Ellie should have asked him first. Couldn't he have
Hello,
told her
time
not to
traveling
add
angel.
cinnamon to the sweet? He
Oh.
told me he didn't think it was a big deal and asked me to drop the topic on the way home. I didn't text him good night, and this morning he said he was sorry and that my crying made him feel like an awful person. I don't know.
Good.
Now I think I overreacted. Edit. Ellie saw this post. My boyfriend texted me to ask if it was me. I said yes. He said we needed to talk. For safety purposes, my best friend will be here. I don't know, I never expected my post to blow up. Update 2 days later. He said he needed space from the relationship. I think, with the way this post blew up, and what happened because of a post, I should clear up some things. I never asked if I should leave my boyfriend over this. I asked if my crying was an overreaction. But having thousands of people tell me this was racially charged, that Ellie wanted power, that my boyfriend is awful, etc., my brain went haywire. My boyfriend called yesterday, and when I got there, his house, with my best friend, Dave and Ellie were there. Ellie was crying, and Dave looked really pissed at me. My boyfriend told me to sit down, and Dave started with, how could you make a post that most of the people at the dinner party would recognize and know, and that could shame Ellie and my boyfriend. My boyfriend was silent, wouldn't even look at me, and was only shaking his head. It felt like I was a kid being scolded by my parents, with my older sibling disappointed in my actions. That's how it felt, and that's how it looked. I admit it was very spineless of me, but Dave went on for a minute, and I was just looking at my boyfriend, waiting for him to defend me. I asked Ellie why she would alter my dish after telling me to bring an Indian dish. She said she thought Indian food would be brown. This woman has more Indian friends than me, and she thinks Indian food is brown.
Indian
She
food would
grew
be
up in the
brown.
UK,
What
for
the
heaven's
fuck?
sake. And I felt so defeated. The comments, my friends, and the people around me
What
were
was your
telling me
first
that his
name?
friends came
Mine was
first to him,
Sprout.
not me. He
Hopefully
said he
Pebble
didn't
will
think
be
the dessert
next.
was a big deal. I told him I would never let my friend alter something he had spent 3 days learning, getting people to taste, and getting his mom involved in. He saw I put a lot of effort into it, so why let her alter it? Why couldn't he ask me? Ellie started to cry and said that she wasn't being racist, and she wouldn't know that I put effort into it, and now she couldn't host dinners again. I said I use fake names, so why does it matter unless she and Dave went around telling people? My boyfriend told me he didn't expect this from me. My best friend piped up that he expected my boyfriend to have a effing spine, so I guess they were both disappointed.
My
I guess now
lord.
ex-boyfriend told me, in front of Dave and
I just put Dandy World live stream and play with creators. Oh, that was fun. I've never heard of Dandy's World. What is it? Basically, it's just a Roblox mascot horror game. It's like Dead by Daylight, but toon characters instead of slasher horror movie characters. I just really like the characters from the game and the story so far, even though it's only an alpha. It's really fun, and the community is pretty fun too. Most people in the community. There are a handful, but every community has that. We just put them in the corner in their cage, and we don't give them food or water. They sit in the cage. That's it.
Ellie, that he needs some space. I told him to get lost. I don't know what my best friend said to him after that, considering I left my boyfriend's flat. I kind of tripped in the metro station, so now I'm crying on my best friend's couch with an ice pack while his boyfriend keeps giving me peach schnapps, and my relationship has fallen apart. I wouldn't have stormed out if he had looked at me once. He just seemed 100% on Dave and Ellie's side, acting like I was the one with the problem, when she caused me hurt. If his friends come first when they hurt me, where would I have been if I decided to marry this man? My friends are being good to me and acting like I'm some fragile piece of glass. I even heard my best friend and his brother whispering loudly from the kitchen, with his older brother wanting to threaten him via Instagram DMs. I hate that it's come to this, considering I've always been the mom friend in my friend group. I'm drunk while writing this, so have some grace in the comments. Also, if you're going to be an incel like those people in my DMs, telling me I'll never keep a man if I'm this dramatic, please go away. I just thought I needed to update, that's all. Thanks guys. Edit. Guys, this is the first time I've faced what you all have been calling racism. To be honest, I didn't see Ellie putting cinnamon into my rasagala as racism. I was just hurt that my days of hard work were ruined, that's it. I understand I need to work on my self-esteem and not let people walk all over me. My best friend's elder brother, he's a doctor and is super pissed at my ex right now because he didn't know what happened, booked an appointment with a therapist he knows, as he thinks I need mental help to stop normalizing aggressive behavior. I'm sorry for ranting on Reddit, but I guess that's where I am. Both my best friend and I will be going, he's been there for some time before, and the situation is tense at home because my bestie's brother didn't know what was happening and tore my friends a new one for not protesting when Dave said things to me. I still haven't told him it was over a Reddit post and that I'm writing here. I feel awful, and I
I'm
don't
gonna
know how
pretend
to
to be
tell
a
my
noob
mom
in
she
more
was right.
lobbies, but I'll also be
I
watching the
wish I had
stream.
never gone out with
Alright,
him.
have fun.
One
Let
of
us
my
know if
ex's
anything
friends,
interesting
from the dinner
happens.
party, asked me if I really left my ex over a dessert, so I guess that's what he told people. It hurts. I know it shouldn't, but it hurts. I think it's partially my fault. I shouldn't have let myself be treated like this. There were signs, and I ignored them. And now I think I'll never have another relationship because it feels like a horrible, anxious feeling.
Sorry, Grandma, I can't find out how to properly do CPR on you because YouTube is making me sit through a 2-minute ad
What
for
the?
Pizza Hut. You can install Pies, you're only one button press away from browsing r/dank memes and
Sorry,
Pies. They have a
Grandma.
rewards
I couldn't get
program you can
CPR
opt into to
training
get
in
something out of
time.
suffering through ads. Plus,
Why
Pi
is there
comes with a
no
companion shopping
skip
extension
button? This is a 30-second ad with no skip
My
button.
boyfriend's female work bestie is getting overly close to him, acting all innocent, but I can see bot behavior from a mile away and she is for the streets. Posted by you/hem moved in without me. My 25F boyfriend, 25M, works in the creative industry. He works very closely with a girl named Charlie, 28F, because their jobs are interlinked. They go on overnight work trips twice a month, travel to another country together twice a year, etc. They get along really well. I trust my boyfriend entirely. I know where his heart is. He keeps things completely platonic and talks about me constantly. Charlie is really attractive and gets a lot of male attention. Historically, the only incident that raised a red flag for me was when she invited my boyfriend one-on-one to a spa on one of their work trips, which he declined. This weekend, he invited me on a work bar crawl and all was well. I said hi to Charlie and spoke to his other workmates. Charlie didn't really make much effort with me. I initiated a conversation once at the second bar, and that was our only interaction. However, she spent the night constantly going up to my boyfriend and pulling him aside for private chats in front of me. She mostly ignored my presence and didn't say anything like, "X talks about you all the time, you two are so cute," etc., which I would have done if I were meeting my work best friend's fiancé to make her feel comfortable. She acted like she didn't even know we were together, stuck close to him, and basically ignored me the whole night. At the third bar, Charlie pulled me aside to take photos of her and my boyfriend together. She didn't take photos with anyone else and allegedly only posted him on her Instagram story. My boyfriend said that she really enjoys male attention. There were 2 guys she was flirting with, one of whom was my boyfriend's best friend. Later on, even he and my own friend, who came along, independently noticed how frequently Charlie kept approaching my boyfriend, and thought it was weird, considering this was the first time I was meeting her. I kind of feel disrespected and uncomfortable. They chat a lot on social media since they're friends. It seems like, because all the guys give her attention, she seeks it most from my boyfriend since he's the only one who doesn't flirt with her. No boundaries have been crossed, and they have to see each other every day, so it hasn't reached a point where it needs to be addressed. I don't want to ruin his friendship and make things awkward. I just don't know how to feel or what to do. I'm not sure if she's just oblivious or intentionally trying to step on my toes. I've spoken to my boyfriend about all of this, and he agrees it's weird. I told him to just keep an eye on her, but nothing further than that. Part of me feels like if one of my work friends disrespected my boyfriend, I wouldn't stay so friendly with them. Am I overreacting? Update 1 month later. So, after the night out, I spoke with my boyfriend, and he understood every concern that I raised. I also saw that Charlie messaged him 6 times after the night out. He always speaks about me at work affectionately. During the night out, he held my hand throughout the parts of the night when we moved from bar to bar. He affectionately held my face and said that he was a gentleman for only me in front of Charlie, and he calls her bro and made it work. I found out that Charlie sent him photos of her skimpy outfit choices prior to the night out. I read his messages, which we argued about, and I apologized for breaking his trust. He had replied to her platonically, "Top 1 is better," to end the conversation, but it was too
Jelly!
passive of a
It
response
is
to those
her
kinds of photos, in my
in
opinion.
her dinosaur
I also
costume.
remember that she tried to get my boyfriend to carry her jacket that night and referred to him as Petey Pie whenever she mentioned him, not his real name. He sought counsel from a few of his friends on the situation, showed them the photos Charlie had sent, and the universal opinion was that Charlie is a homewrecker. If you recall, my boyfriend's best friend, who came along that night and was the one who noticed how uncomfortable I was, tried to kiss Charlie, but she played dumb as if she didn't hear him. The next day at work, however, the first thing she did was go up to my boyfriend's desk and brag, "Your friend tried to kiss me," laughing about it. She allegedly has a history of fishing for compliments. My boyfriend suggested he confront her directly about her behavior, but I told him it might be better to try setting boundaries more directly first in case she spread drama around the office since she seems unhinged, and if that didn't work, then he should consider confronting her. This is because their work is really interconnected, and going in hard might make his work situation even more uncomfortable than it already is. My boyfriend also spoke with his other workmate, who is in a relationship. His workmate advised that Charlie had made inappropriate comments to him as well in the past about her adult toys, to which he replied, "Not at work." Charlie also treated his workmate's girlfriend similarly during a different work outing. 2 weeks ago, Charlie came up to my boyfriend's desk 3 times, insisting that they should match costumes for Halloween. She accidentally called them couple costumes and suggested characters that were a couple. He shot her down on 3
Ew.
separate occasions, saying that would only be okay if she were me. So, from here on, it's been a bit of a miserable situation for my boyfriend, where he has been purposely cold to her at work, and he has stopped messaging her outside of work. He has been telling her to go away when she approaches his desk and even suggested she take the train on their next work trip instead of riding in the same vehicle. It's made his work situation a bit awful because he's a lovely, bubbly person and cannot maintain a fake persona of friendship without being miserable. So, given the misery of it all, my boyfriend decided to finally confront Charlie during their long journey back from a work trip yesterday. She asked him why he's been so weird lately, and he told
Guys,
her
how would that
everything,
be?
except the Halloween costume thing because he forgot. She apparently cried throughout the journey and said that she genuinely didn't mean to appear that way. She said that she sent him the outfit pictures because she saw him as one of the girls, but she supposedly only sent those photos to my boyfriend and the guy she had a crush on. She gave her side of the story and mentioned that since my boyfriend said I was quite secure, she didn't think twice, thought everything was okay, and that I wouldn't be jealous. She has had guy best friends in the past, and they have interacted in that way. She supposedly had a guy best friend who had a crush on her while she was in a relationship, which her ex-boyfriend didn't appreciate. My boyfriend laid down his boundaries and said that while he cannot attribute intent to her actions, it still crossed a line. She said that she'll have to second-guess herself each time she interacts with him, and he told her that maybe she should. She said that he should have confronted her earlier, and he agreed. He said that she can still be his mate, but she needs to respect the boundaries he has set because his relationship will always take priority. And that's where we are now. I feel like it's great that he has set his hard boundaries. He says she was genuinely really upset and didn't want to seem like she wasn't a girl's girl. My boyfriend can go back to work without the tension of the elephant in the room. I said I probably shouldn't attend their work Christmas party, and he agreed, saying it would cause tension. Just generally about the whole situation of their friendship, my gut feeling is that I still don't like her, and part of me doesn't want their friendship to return to the way it was before, but I can't figure out why or what I should say, if I should say anything at all, since he's officially done everything he can. I don't know what boundaries to consider moving forward in terms of their friendship, or if I should just let it go back to how it used to be with the cautionary side of the boundaries now in place. I don't care if she apologizes, I don't like her. Please let me know your thoughts. Thanks for all the help. I have read every last comment and appreciated the support.
Does this look centered?
Let me see. Maybe if I just.
Do you want free crystals sent to you every month? Yes, I said
What is
it.
going on?
Free.
No, I don't want
Do
any
you
free
want
crystals.
Free crystals sent to you every month? Yes, I said it. Free.
I don't want free crystals. I don't want an ad either.
Do you want free crystals?
Stop! I don't want free crystals. Where's my skip button?
God be perfect. Do you want free crystals
Stop
sent to
it!
you every month? Yes, I said it. Free every.
They took away my skip button. There we
My
go.
sister sharded down my throat for not perfectly planning her wedding, and all my siblings sided with her, so now I treat them like toilet water and uninvited
Here's
them
your
for my
art.
wedding.
No!
Posted by you/Vic_Titius.
My art.
My sister, 34F,
What?
and her
I'm
husband,
sorry, what was
36M,
that?
got married just 3 months ago. I, 30F, was
Look.
appointed maid of honor.
Look, everything's fine. It's just the ads. Do you want free crystals? No. No, I didn't even hear the beginning of this. No. Gotta love your For You page. Look. Do you want free crystals? I want free crystals. Oh, thank you. I've never gotten one of those things before. You. Is it creme creamy? I don't know how to pronounce it, and I don't want to say it wrong. But thank you. I've never gotten one of those before. I want free crystals, guys. I think we're entitled to some free crystals, according to YouTube ads. Oh my goodness! Oh, thank you. Oh. Guys, I won't let me stop. So sweet, thank you. Still new to the TikTok live thing. I know about these little coin things, but
My sister sharded down my throat for not perfectly planning her wedding, and all my siblings sided with her, so now I treat them like toilet water and uninvited them from my wedding. Posted by you/Vic_Titius. My sister, 34F, and her husband, 36M, got married just 3 months
it
ago.
gives you money.
I, 30F, was appointed maid of honor.
Oh.
I was so excited to help
I
her
thought they
plan
were
the
just,
wedding
like,
and took on most of the
TikTok
work since I was
live
unemployed at the time and she's a
boosts or
doctor.
something.
I won't get into the
Oh.
details, but it's important to note that she
Cute.
didn't have a wedding planner, it was all me. The time leading up to the wedding, I was miserable because of how the bride treated me. I felt like her own personal slave,
Now I
someone
gotta-
she could kick around because she's the bride.
Now I
Just
gotta
because
earn
you're a
it.
bride doesn't mean you get a free
So
pass
let's
to be a
let's
BTCH.
get through this
Many times I wanted to
animation.
step out of the wedding party, but I kept telling myself to bite my tongue and keep the peace because she was probably just stressed. After doing so much for her, she refused to invite my fiancé, even though we've been together for 12 years, but invited my siblings' partners who have only been around for 2 to 3 years. My sister and her husband
I
dated
love
for
that.
a year
No!
before they got engaged, so we don't really know him too well. She said she didn't want my fiancé around
love
because
that
people would
autocorrect
be
happens
asking
to me all
about
the
my own
time.
wedding since they've all been wanting us to get married for a while. I refused to do any more work for her wedding until she apologized to me and invited my fiancé, which she did. Not exactly sincerely, but whatever. I was hurt that she wasn't even grateful for anything I had done for her and her dream wedding because it was expected of me to help. Cut to the day of the wedding, and
Right,
everything
it
was
was.
fine. The ceremony was beautiful, and the couple was happy. I was happy for my sister. By the time we got to the reception venue, I noticed that my fiancé and I were seated at a separate table from my family. They were at the VIP table, while I was cast aside to sit at the furthest table, right beside the kitchen. I figured there was a mistake and calmly asked the bride about it, since she handled the seating plan. She looked me dead in the eye and said there was no mistake, that's where we belong, at the kids' table, far away. We were seated with 7 to 14-year-olds. The groom overheard us.
I
and
have
agreed
a
with me but
feeling
kept
this is
quiet
an
when my
AI
sister gave him
generated
the "don't you dare disagree
story.
with me" look. The groom later apologized to my parents for
Shelly,
what
Shelly,
happened to me
Shelly,
and
get
said he had
funky,
no clue
funky,
his bride
funky.
did that. But he didn't say a
Shelly
word to
getting
me,
funky
as
on a
his bride
Friday
told him
night.
not to.
It's
Because
Friday.
of this, I decided not to make an issue and just tried to
I have
enjoy
to
the
go now,
remainder
but
of
this
the
was
night with my
fun. Bye
partner.
bye. Thank
But I
you for
chose not to give
stopping
a maid of
by.
honor
Thank you for
speech.
the little
My parents
roses.
noticed where I was
First
seated
time I've ever
and were
gotten
upset
those, so
about the
thank
situation as
you.
well. My siblings knew very well that I wasn't at their table
Mm.
but didn't bother looking for me or wondering why I wasn't seated there. When they heard I wasn't making a speech, my 2 brothers walked over to my table to tell me off, saying I needed to understand my sister and the stress of being a bride, that I should be nice to her because it's her special day and you're only a bride once. Yeah, right. I bet they'll divorce. They called me a disgrace and a
Yes,
disgusting
yeah,
disappointment for
I
not
bet they'll
giving a speech for my
divorce.
sister, saying I was awful
Damn.
sad and that I was being selfish for making the night about me, when I was literally sitting quietly in our corner. Needless to say, I wasn't having the best time, so we got up and left. We ended up at McDonald's for dinner, and I posted a story of us getting burgers, saying post-wedding meal. I made sure to post it after the reception ended to avoid making it look like I had ditched, but my siblings somehow saw this as an attack on my sister. To this day, my sister insists she did nothing wrong, and her reasons for seating me there were: 1. I didn't plan her wedding exactly as she envisioned during the process, so I deserved to
Ew.
sit there, even though I did everything she said she wanted. 2. She didn't like that I looked pretty in my gown. And 3. I needed to be punished for insisting on bringing my fiancé. I haven't planned my own wedding yet because I wanted to be 100% focused on hers, plus, she banned me from getting married before her since she's older, and to avoid drama, I
Ew.
agreed. But now, I just don't want anyone there except my parents and a few close friends. My parents agree with me, but my siblings are upset, calling me childish. To be completely honest, I just don't feel like paying for people who don't appreciate it. Mine is a destination wedding, and my fiancé and I are paying for everything. These are our savings, and I don't feel like splurging on them. My grandparents, cousins, and siblings are all saying
Oh,
I'm wrong.
hi.
But
What's
hey,
going on
if
with
I was
you?
excluded from being a sibling at my sister's wedding and no one
My cat
cared,
again.
why would they be
Sit
upset
in
if
my
I
lap
excluded
and
them
just
in return?
chillax.
Commenter. Wedding planning issues aside, one possible explanation for all of this could be that your sister really dislikes your fiancé. Op's response. Regarding my
Oh, sir.
fiancé, there's nothing he did to her to warrant being treated so rudely.
Can't be
We
on the
started dating
desk.
when
You're
we were
stepping on my
quite young,
keyboard.
and both my parents and I love him very much. He was my best friend for a long time and is still my favorite person to this day. My sister has always hated that I had a boyfriend before she did because she believed I wouldn't ever get married due to my disability. I am epileptic. Her husband was her first boyfriend, and she married him right
How is
away because
epilepsy
she wants
gonna
babies
stop
ASAP,
you from
since she's
getting
already
no
34
disability
and
would
her
stop you
goal
from
was to
getting
be
married? But
before
how the
30.
fuck?
In fact, she started planning and
That
booking
is
venues
ridiculous.
even before he actually proposed to her.
I'm falling for the rage
So
bait.
basically,
Hello,
she's
hi
pretty
Lexi.
insane. Her actions are always driven by jealousy and the idea that I shouldn't have things if she hasn't had them first because she's the eldest, whether it's a boyfriend, engagement, wedding, kids, etc. That's why she said I couldn't get married before her, because it was already a slap in her face that I got engaged younger than her. Basically, she doesn't hate him, she hates me. Update 1 month later.
Do you want free crystals?
No!
Yes, I said it.
No!
Free every month.
I
If you
don't
get approved for our VIP,
what?
Hi again.
Free
I'll address a few
crystals!
things before giving a quick update.
Oh my
I come
god.
from a family of 5
Sorry if you
kids.
just joined.
I
That
didn't
ad
mention
has
this
come
before
up
because I
like
didn't think it was
5
that relevant,
times
but I
now.
actually have 2 sisters, 34 and 32, and 2 brothers, 26 and 22. A little more about my sisters: they're the best of friends, the picture-perfect model of sisterly love. Meanwhile, I'm the middle child with 2 younger brothers. So why did I agree to be maid of honor? Well, because I thought it would bring us closer. In my mind, I believe this was her trying to be more of a sister to me. You
Funny.
always hear stories about that sisterly bond around weddings,
Leg,
and I
leg,
tried to
foot,
nurture that because it's
tail.
what they already had. My brothers also share that sibling
Ellie
bond
definitely
with
is
each
gonna
other.
have more pieces
Any
than
chance I had
any
to
of
connect
them
with my
so
sisters,
far.
I jumped at the opportunity. It's more about me feeling left out than being a doormat. I was a very sickly child, so I spent most of my time with just my parents growing up, while my siblings were out meeting friends, etc. This is what my siblings apparently envied. They aren't close to my parents. The bride had both of us as maid of honors because she couldn't choose just one. I later found out I was always the second option and was only appointed maid of honor, so I do all the work while the other maid of honor got all the praise. In hindsight, I should have seen that coming. While my brothers were busy harassing me about giving my maid of honor speech, Sister 2 was giving her own maid of honor speech, gushing about how she absolutely loves the bride and will do anything for her, all that typical stuff. She then conveniently called all the siblings to the stage to toast the bride and groom, right when I was crying and trying to walk away from my brothers. So to the other relatives in attendance, it looked like I was making a scene and making it about me. No, it's not the first time she hurt me. She fat-shamed me as a child, calling me a potato, said I was a burden to the family because of my epilepsy, threw all my
Hello,
makeup in the
Astra.
sink and ruined it because I moved her bath towel in the bathroom, and called me the stupid low IQ sister, even though I'm a licensed architect with a master's degree, when her guy friends wanted to ask for my number. She even took my dream church from me, which is why my fiancé suggested we have a destination wedding in my dream country instead. This was just the worst thing she's done to spite me in front of the entire family. And no, we still haven't spoken since then. She still maintains that I was the one who ruined everything by getting upset about the seating. Now for the update. We've decided to elope. It will just be the two of us and a handful of close friends who have been there for us since the beginning of our relationship. We'll have a small church wedding and a little celebration on the beach with the people we love, followed by island hopping with our entire party around the Philippines. All paid for by us, because I want to splurge on memories and experiences with people who truly love and appreciate us. The budget we had set aside for a wedding in Italy will now be used for an intimate 5-day wedding celebration on an island in the Philippines. We will have our reception with the family when we get back home. The plan is to invite both of our big families to a luncheon the weekend after. Collectively, this would mean about 80 guests max. Both our parents wanted to help pay for the engagement party and rehearsal dinner, and they agreed to cover the cost of this luncheon/reception instead. This means they can invite whomever they please, and if my siblings are invited, I couldn't care less. I'll be too busy with my husband of 1 to 2 weeks by then. At this event, we'll still have special moments like the father-daughter dance and cake cutting. We're planning to have piñatas, a brick oven pizza cart, coffee and pretzels, and an amazing Italian buffet with a pasta bar, lots of fresh fruit and cheese, because who doesn't like cheese?
That sounds like an
As
awesome
for the seating
wedding.
plan, ever watched Mamma Mia 1? Yep, think of that, a long, winding table where my siblings can be as far away from me as possible, and as close to the service area as possible, without it being obvious. They'll have their own siblings table. My fiancé and I will be in the center, with his 2 brothers and our parents next to us, while my wonderful siblings will be at the end of the table, near the restrooms, where they belong. I honestly don't care if they're invited to this lunch because I've got nothing left for them, not even anger. I'm just so done with them that I'd feel more for a stranger on the street than I do for these people. It's indifference. They've hurt me so many times that I'm numb to their existence. And no bridezilla allowed. My sister expects to be my maid of honor in return, but that's definitely not going to happen since my siblings won't be present at the ceremony. I don't need her around, and I don't want her around. Yes, she'll likely be invited to the reception out of courtesy, but I'll make sure she's set aside just like I was. How, you might ask? Well, we recently found out she's pregnant, and I'm planning my wedding around her due date. Luckily, she's due
Ooh.
around June, which is the month we really wanted anyway. So,
What are
if
you
she
drawing?
decides to
I
attend
am
with a
working
newborn and
on
her
a
husband,
Halloween
she'll be at the kitty
animation.
table and told to
Andy's
step out
world.
when the baby starts to cry.
I started it literally
In the end,
yesterday,
our
so
wedding
I don't
day
know if
is
I'm going
for
to
us.
finish it in time, but
Eloping is the only way I feel
silly
like we
idea.
can truly sit and enjoy our special day together, away from all my siblings and family issues. Then, when we get back, we'll have a get-together lunch with some good food and fun. That's really all it is to me, a lunch. Luckily, my fiancé's family isn't as insane as mine. So there you have it. Thank you all for your messages, comments, and insights. I really was going a bit loco back then, thinking I was overreacting, but thank you so much for the clarity. Cheers to the end of this emotionally draining year. Second update 9 months later.
The all-new Shark Power Detect wet and dry robot needs
Shark
you
Power
less.
Detect-
It vacuums and mops,
Shut
then
up.
empties.
I know a number of you have been waiting, and I swear this is the soonest I could post. I promise I'll explain. I'll start with the wedding. I absolutely enjoyed wedding planning with my husband, yay. If you ever decide to get married, do a small wedding, you'll live longer, I swear. We told our friends and families that we were pushing back the wedding and wanted to do a destination bachelor/bachelorette trip first. They had no idea we were actually getting married on this trip. We arrived in Boracay 3 days before everyone else for some time to ourselves. When our friends arrived, we did all the fun island activities. The night before our wedding,
No,
we
Joseph.
asked everyone to be up at 7 for breakfast and to dress up in tropical beach outfits for cute pics. We had told them to pack this beforehand.
Sure.
Once everyone was gathered, my husband announced that we were getting married at 4 p.m.
Is
and
that
this was actually
Sebastian?
an elopement.
It is not.
The excitement from all our
No,
friends
it's
will
not.
forever be
Is that the
forming.
character from
It's the
Pressure?
best feeling to have people
I haven't
genuinely
played that
happy
game,
for
but I
you.
have seen him all
The
over
girls
my
did each
TikTok
other's
page.
hair and makeup, cried, and hugged a lot, while the boys had fun drinking and playing football. We used our phones and an
Football.
old digital camera, passing it around, and that was it for our
Yes,
event
please
photos.
play it. I
Surprises
might.
have been our thing
I might
since
play
we
it on a
began
stream.
dating,
It
and
looks
was so
really
sweet that we
fun.
both
I
thought
just
to do the same for our wedding.
I was
love
told
flowers,
it's like
but I didn't
Doors,
want to
and
go
I
through the
didn't,
hassle
and I
of
don't
finding
really
a
like
supplier there.
Doors.
We had someone
Hopefully
help
it's
with the
better.
necessary arrangements, but that was it. I figured I'd just get flowers for the luncheon later. Well, my husband had other plans. He secretly spoke to the hotel to surprise me, knowing exactly which flowers I love. He created the prettiest bouquet ever and had the church filled with them. I completely ruined my makeup from ugly crying when I walked in. For my husband, who is extremely close to his brothers, I made sure to fly them out as a surprise. He needed his best men there, and I was
It's better
thrilled to
than
make that
Doors,
happen.
but it's harder.
We said our adieux
Okay.
and headed to the hotel
Well,
for a boodle fight dinner by
It
the
wasn't
beach.
that Doors was
Nothing
hard.
fancy, but we were beyond
It
happy.
just,
Now
I
for the
don't know.
luncheon. Before the
It had a
elopement,
lot of
I sent
super
my seating plan
unnecessary
to our
jump
family group
scares,
chat
and I
because
understand
didn't
that's
want
part of the
anyone making a
game,
scene
but
on
I'm the
day.
kind of person that
Everyone
hates
thought these were
just,
the seating plans for our reception.
ah,
Well,
did I
here's where my
scare
pettiness
you?
shows. Our head table consisted
I don't
of
like
us,
that kind of
our
horror
parents,
stuff.
and my
It's
husband's
like, of
brothers.
course you scared me.
All
You
my
were, it
siblings
was a
were
sudden
seated at
loud
both ends of
noise.
the long
I
table.
don't like loud
My
noises.
favorite slap in the face, though,
I'm not
was a
scared.
table for one
I'm
way
mad
in the
now.
back, labeled as the breastfeeding area with my sister's name on the chair.
Damn!
She was
Oh my
livid,
god,
to
the
say the
red
least.
story.
I simply said I was looking out for her, assuming she'd want some privacy. My siblings refused to come because they saw my elopement as an act of
Breastfeeding
disrespect,
teachers,
especially since my brothers-in-law were there. They even called our relatives, telling them not to attend. Some relatives were upset, saying they did not agree with our union. I'm happy to report that, out of the original 127 guests, only 58 ended up coming. So,
You should
I
put
cut
like
my budget
26
by
different
over half.
videos on the live
Sounds
at
like a win to
once.
me. The venue
You're
was
so
my
right.
husband's small family farm, which was
I
so
need,
beautiful
I
that
need
didn't
at
need
least
to
some
spend
Subway
much on
Surfer
decor
in
at
here.
all. Music was just a Spotify playlist we made. Photos, prenup, beach, and lunch were all
Ambience
taken by
might
my
get-
friends.
The
cake
ambience
was
might
baked
get
by my
you,
mom and me
but
2
when you
nights
get
before,
used to
and the
it,
flowers I
it's
bought
just
myself from the
gonna
morning market and
normal.
arranged with my girls. And the dress I wore? Just
Yeah, like ambiance music, I don't mind. It's like, and I mean, Doors might be different now because I played it. Because last time I played Doors was when it was like around first release. So it was like right at not first release. It was right when it was getting really popular on YouTube because that's when I found out about it. And then I started playing it, but I just don't like sudden jump scares, and a lot of the rooms, no matter what I did, I'd keep getting the same jump scare. I just don't think I understood what was going on. But yeah, no, I don't mind ambiance. It's just those sudden jump scares. I just don't like it. It's just loud, and I hate loud noises. Got to go. No worries. Thanks for popping by. I appreciate it, and I'll definitely check out Pressure at some point. Eventually. Bliss.
one I had in my closet. For food, we asked guests to bring potluck meals instead of gifts if they wanted to. We still had our pizza oven, pretzel cart, and coffee bar, which we paid for instead of a caterer. E-invites were designed by us and sent via email. Since my siblings didn't want to attend, only Bridezilla's husband got an invite, with no option for A+1. Her C-section was scheduled for a week before my wedding. Did she notice I planned for her to miss the luncheon? Yes she did. It was magical. Us being so unaffected upset them even more. But I've come to realize that the louder you try to force people to side with your opinions and narrative, the more toxic, unhinged, and narcissistic you appear. No, I didn't need to go no contact with them. They all decided to go no contact with me. I didn't even need to try. Blessings left and right. For those blaming my parents, none of my siblings were neglected. If anything, my parents gave my siblings so much more time and freedom to compensate for all the attention I needed. And let's not forget, these kids are grown adults. My parents are seniors, they're tired. They did tell my siblings off for being gigantic pricks, but what else can they do at this point? Put them in timeout? Since both our parents wanted to pitch in, They helped us with a down payment on the house instead. In return, we surprised them with a 1-week vacation each to Amampulo. We saved so much from our wedding and luncheon that we just wanted to show how much we appreciate their support and love. Lastly, any extra food and flowers were either taken home by guests or donated, which made everything feel even more special. Weddings are about love. Our favorite people were there to celebrate us, and we made sure to also celebrate the love we have for them. I fully embrace this life of peace, contentment, and indifference toward my siblings. No idea what they're up to, sorry. They kicked me out of the group chat, and I only found out my sister gave birth because my brother-in-law messaged me. The last I heard, they were still trying to badmouth my husband, but we couldn't care less. We've moved on. Sucks for them that they haven't. Thank you all for following along. It was empowering to know I wasn't alone, and enlightening to hear that this type of sibling abuse isn't actually normal. This is your kitty table maid of honor, finally signing off.
My internet, my rules. Introducing My
Shush.
Home from Verizon.
Shush, Verizon.
Choose what goes
Verizon,
into
shut
your
up. Verizon,
My dad
stop.
treats me like his personal ATM, so I've been hiding my money from my parents.
Anyways,
Now our utilities might get cut off and they need help, but I don't want to reveal that I'm not completely broke. Posted by you/horror ad 221. I, 20, non-binary, live with my parents, both in their 50s, and my 2 sisters, 20F and 19F. For as long as I can remember, my parents have had financial difficulties. For the past 4 months, I have paid all of my parents' rent. While I don't make that much, I work 50 hours a week most weeks due to understaffing, so I get a pretty sizable paycheck. Plus, most of the
Hey,
time,
Joseph,
I'm
no.
able to set aside some money for savings.
Don't scratch my
However,
lesbian
in these
flag.
past months, every one of my dad's paychecks, he makes the most money out of all of us, has been garnished or completely gone before he ever receives them. Unfortunately, I get paid on the exact same days as him, so the majority of my paychecks and all of my savings have gone toward paying bills. 2 weeks ago, my dad didn't get his paycheck, and I ended up overdrawing my bank account by $1,000. It was an accident, as I had forgotten about a payment I had made that had yet to show up. So, when I got my paycheck on Friday, it was only $100, and my dad immediately asked for $80 of it. I had already told my parents I wouldn't be able to help financially for the next 2 weeks, and again, my dad didn't get his check. Now my parents are scrambling to gather money to avoid our utilities being cut off. My college does this thing, I don't know if every college does this or not, where you pay the full amount of your tuition, and then at the end of the semester, you get the amount of scholarships and financial aid refunded to you. There is a deadline to claim the money, but they hold it for you if you miss it. For most of the 2 years I've been attending, I've forgotten to do that, so the money has been sitting around. I missed the December deadline for the fall semester, but I got a head start on spring, knowing that I would forget, and it's my last year at that college because I'm transferring to another one. I promptly forgot about it, lol. Well, on Friday, I received an email from the bank system my college uses, informing me that I would be receiving the money. I shrugged it off because, most of the time, I get my money from that kind of thing really late. So, even though the email said 1 to 2 business days, I was expecting it to arrive in June. Imagine my surprise when I saw it in my account that same day. Considering it had been sitting there for 2 years, it was a fair amount. I'm by no means rich or anything, but it was certainly more than I had been expecting. I paid a bill that I hadn't been able to, and the majority of the money is just sitting in my bank account. It's been 2
The
days.
college kid,
but
I
haven't
wish
mentioned
I
anything
just
about it.
randomly got
My
a
parents never even
scholarship
knew I
a
was getting money
refund.
from my college due to my forgetfulness. I know this money could help ensure that none of our utilities get cut off, but I can't seem to bring myself to tell them. I'm moving out soon, so this money could give me some breathing room or go toward my classes this summer, so I really want to save it and let my parents assume I only have $20 to my name. However, if the utilities get cut off, I'll be affected as well. I feel like such a jerk for not telling my parents about the money. I know I'm just being selfish, but I'm so tired of every penny I make going toward my family's bills. I know my mom feels extremely guilty every time they ask for help, but it's something they have to do to survive. So, am I wrong for doing this? Edit. Since a lot of people are asking, here you go. My parents have a lot of payday loans from my childhood, other loans, and they owe money to the state and IRS. At one point, my dad was accused of having a gambling addiction. It runs in his family, and he did have one at one point, but my parents have talked this out. My dad's company also has terrible communication, so we have no way of knowing when his wages will be garnished or why until he gets paid. Everyone works, but my dad and I make the most money. My mom works a minimum wage job, and my sisters work part-time minimum wage jobs. My mom and my 20-year-old sister do help pay bills, but my younger sister does not. She's the type who gets a little bit of money and spends it wildly. My parents pay for a lot of her stuff without ever seeing a dime in return. They're trying to stop that, but it's extremely difficult due to other factors that I won't get into here since it's unrelated to money. The reason I make a lot is because I'm a lifeguard, and due to the shortage, we're paid well. As many of you have suggested, I'm moving out. I'm relocating to a different city this summer for classes. I honestly don't think I need to go to the extreme some of you suggested. My bank account is separate from theirs, though we do use the same bank. My parents don't try to sneakily take my money, and the few times my dad has tried, I've called him out and berated him. My mom feels extremely guilty about the entire situation, so I don't see her doing anything underhanded, and I've set strict guidelines with my dad. I also have tons of notifications set up for both my credit card and bank account, so if even $1 gets spent, I'll know. No, I won't be getting back the money I've given to my parents, and I'm not going to try. I don't want to become another thing they have to pay off, though I will follow some of your other suggestions. My parents are aware, and I will remind them when I leave that I won't be able to help pay bills anymore. I'll be reducing my hours at work and have my own bills to cover, like school and rent for the apartment. Update 13 days later.
You sick of the 9-to-5 grind? Ever thought about becoming
Hey.
the voice behind iconic characters? With
Stop
over a
it,
decade of
ads.
experience, I'm here
Ads,
to
I
guide you.
swear.
I'm still living with my parents and 2 sisters for now, but I'm moving out next month. Last night, my dad decided to play a joke on me. He took my card and withdrew 90% of the money from my checking account. For those wondering about the college money I mentioned in a previous post, it's in a savings account at another institution,
Kind of
so it's safe.
joke.
He then put my card back in its original spot and went to work. He did all of this around midnight. I woke up in the morning to find most of my money gone. My first thought was that my dad had taken my card without asking, but it was still in my wallet, exactly where I left it. I assumed someone had cloned my card and guessed my PIN. I quickly sent a text to my mom and called my bank. I spent quite a while on the phone, feeling so anxious that I was practically sobbing, and I'm not the type of person who cries easily. That money was meant for my deposit and June rent. Then I went into the living room and heard my mom arguing. I couldn't make out much, but I heard her scream, "What made you think it was a good idea?" Instantly, dread filled me. I walked to my parents' room and saw my mom on the phone, arguing with my dad. According to my dad, he found our
Hi.
cat playing with my card, so he decided to take it and withdraw my money to teach me a lesson about leaving my card lying around, then went to work. He apologized to me, but I just handed the phone back to my mom and stormed out of the room. This wasn't the first time he pulled something like this. He once took all my money and then lost it. He claimed it was to teach me a lesson for leaving my card around the house. Later, in private, he admitted that he took the money because he thought I was lying about how much I had. I had been saving that money for a medical procedure, hiding it because my family is always in financial distress, and I knew he'd ask for it if he found out. I was just done living in constant pain. Anyway, there were clear flaws in the story my dad told us. First, I had my card in my wallet, exactly where I left it, so taking it would have been a separate trip from going to work. Also, neither my wallet nor my card showed any sign of damage. My dad works out of the city, which is a 1.5-hour drive from where we live. My mom
I
said
have
she
to
would
wake
drive
up
me
at
to his
6
workplace
and
to
I'm
pick up the
still
money, as we
awake.
don't trust him to hold
Feel
on to it
that.
until he's done working.
I have
given
class
what
tomorrow
happened last
morning. I'm
time.
like,
He
nah.
protested,
Sleep is
saying
for
that
the-
it would use too much gas and insisted that he would drive down instead, claiming it would use the same amount of gas. This made my mom suspicious, practically confirming in her mind that he might have started gambling again. My dad had a gambling addiction when I was younger, but he got help and had been clean for a while. To her, his insistence on not letting us come to his work was a red flag. He came home and returned all the money to me. Yes, I counted it over and over to make sure. He apologized, and I said nothing. My mom mentioned that he didn't sound sincere. My dad blew up at her, saying he had already apologized over the phone and that he was obviously sorry for what happened. Later, he apologized to me again, but I ignored it, and he hasn't been speaking to my mom since. My mom told me she's planning to talk to a lawyer. She's absolutely torn up about it. There have been so many issues in their relationship over the past year, but this seems to be the final straw, pushing her to consider ending their 40-year marriage. My sisters don't know what's going on, or if they do,
Okay,
they
for real,
don't
I'm
know the
gonna
full
sleep. Good
situation.
night.
I told my mom that once I move out, I might go no contact
Have a
with my
good night.
dad. She got sad but said she doesn't blame me after everything he's put me through. I'm honestly emotionally drained and dreading calling my bank back. My mom had this great weekend planned for us, but now there's an overwhelming feeling of dread and tension over everything. I was finally going to do something for myself that I had worked up the nerve to ask my mom about, but it had to be cancelled. Honestly, if it weren't for the fact that I'm moving out soon, I would have called my friend and moved out today. I'm just done with my dad in this situation. At the same time, I feel such overwhelming guilt. I know I did the right thing, that I had to tell my mom and protect myself financially, but I don't know. I feel responsible for my parents separating, And my mom and I are the only ones who know, even though my dad made his choice. I love my dad, and I still want a close relationship with him like I never had, yet I can't imagine ever talking to him again after he put me through all of this. I also feel like I'm too emotional and hasty to make these decisions since all of this happened today. Maybe I just need confirmation that I am doing the right thing. Second update 15 days later. I know it's been 2 weeks since my last post, but a lot has happened since then. My parents are getting a divorce, and I have mixed feelings about it. My mom started tracking my dad. I know it's an invasion of privacy, but it was the only way to be sure. Multiple times, the tracker has shown him at a casino when he claimed he was working. My mom also discovered that he's been getting his paycheck 2 days early and hasn't been telling anyone. Last Wednesday, my mom called a lawyer to discuss her next move. My dad isn't fighting the divorce, which is honestly destroying my mom. Yesterday, we got an eviction notice stating we have to be out by the end of the month. This has happened before, but my dad always explained it away. Apparently, my dad hasn't paid the rent in 4 months. My dad hasn't said anything about this. He now knows we're all seeing through him and his act. My mom and younger sister are going to live with my maternal grandparents, and my other sister and I are moving into our own apartment at the end of the week. This makes me extremely angry because my parents got the money from me to pay the rent, but instead, it was going toward my dad's gambling. I did the math for how much I've given them this year, and I'm horrified. It's over $10,000. All my savings for college and so many of my paychecks that I sacrificed to help my family have actually gone to feed my dad's gambling addiction. I feel so used and like a fool. I feel so betrayed. My mom has told me she doesn't want me to go no contact with my dad. She wants to hold family dinners once everything has settled down and she has a place, and she plans to invite my dad. My mom still loves my dad and keeps saying that he's sick. I know this, I know he's not well and that he's lost control, but I'm not sure if I can keep him in my life. He used me and manipulated me. I feel less like his child and more like his walking bank account. He broke our family, and even if it's because he's sick, I don't know if I can move past it. I know it would destroy my mom if I cut my dad out of my life. I know you all said I'm not the jerk in my last post, but I still feel like one. I might add more later, as I have to go to work. Edit. Adding some details I forgot in a rush to go to work. One of the reasons my mom wants to hold these dinners is to give my dad a reason to get help. I honestly don't think that will work. First, my dad barely spent time with us or participated in anything even when he lived with us, so I doubt he'll attend. Second, if the looming threat of divorce didn't push him to change, I don't think weekly dinners will. I have a really good relationship with my mom, and I do want to go to those dinners to spend time with her, but I'm not sure if I can face my dad if he decides to show up. My mom wants me to have a good relationship with my dad, which is why she doesn't want me to go no contact with him. Some of it likely comes from her own guilt about the situation and the fact that I'm the person she often turns to for help. Also, a lot of you have been confused about why I felt responsible for my parents' divorce. Like I mentioned, this is an update to a previous post. For context, I woke up one day and saw that my money was stolen. I told my mom, and she figured out that it was my dad. This made her realize that she needed to divorce him because of his ongoing lies. My mom has never blamed me for any of this, it was just how I was feeling in the moment. I've since gotten over that guilt. Many of you have suggested that I try to get my money back from my dad, but I'm not sure. I've made peace with not getting it back. I'm not planning to take him to court. My life is already chaotic without adding a legal battle over my dad's gambling addiction. Plus, I don't really have any solid proof to present in court since I just gave the money to my mom without any digital trail specifying what it was for. It would turn into a he said they said situation, and honestly, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to move past this. Third update 20 days later. Hi all, I'm currently living in my own apartment with my sister and a roommate, 19M. We moved in about 2 weeks ago. Due to events from a previous post, my sister and I are the only ones in the family who aren't homeless. My dad has been living in his car and staying in hotels when possible. Recently, my dad was hospitalized for a number of reasons, I won't go into detail. He's going to be released soon, but some of the medical advice he'll receive can't be followed because he's homeless. My parents haven't told the hospital about his situation or that they're in the middle of a divorce, and my mom is scared of what that might mean for him. My mom has asked me to talk to my roommates about how they'd feel if my dad lived with us temporarily. I agreed to, but honestly, I don't want to have him here. This might sound selfish, but he would have to stay in my room because he works nights. He won't stay in my sister's room since it's hyper-feminine and only separated from the living room by a curtain. Since I have the actual room, he'd be sleeping in mine. Our schedules are pretty reversed, so we rarely see each other except on my days off, but I really hate the idea. In our previous house, I had to share my room with my mom because she worked from home. This meant that anyone could barge in whenever they felt like it. Now, I finally have my own space where no one can intrude, and not even 2 weeks later, it feels like it might be taken away. On top of that, I'm currently job hunting since I've moved to a new city and no longer want to commute 3 hours each way. I have a few phone interviews lined up for my days off, and I don't feel comfortable doing them in the living room because my roommates also have those days off, and I hate talking on the phone in front of others. My dad has also not acknowledged that he's done anything wrong. I'm still pissed at him. He can't stay with my mom and other sister because my maternal grandparents hate his guts at the moment. He can't ask any of his family because they're abusive, and he doesn't want to admit how bad his situation has gotten. So that just leaves me and my sister. My dad already doesn't like our roommate due to his sexism and toxic masculinity. I don't think he'll act out in any obvious way, but I really don't want to put him in a situation where he might have to deal with that. I haven't told my roommates yet because they had already left when my mom asked, and I don't want to ruin their event or have this conversation over text. I'm very tempted to lay out all the reasons it would be a bad idea so that they agree we can't do it, so I'm not the jerk, but I don't like the idea of manipulating them. My mom said my dad probably wouldn't accept the offer, but I'm not sure I can even make the offer. Hotels aren't an option because none of us have the money for them, and my dad will likely be paying off this hospital trip for a while. I honestly feel like I'm screwed either way. Fourth update 3 months later. So yesterday was my dad's birthday. I have been pretty much no contact with him since my last post about him, only really seeing him here and there. My dad has reached out to me once, but I didn't respond. He's never apologized for what he's done. For the past week, I had been debating whether I should send him a text. No matter what, I decided I wasn't going to get him anything after all the money he took from me. Then, on Wednesday, my phone got stolen. I spent most of Wednesday and yesterday trying to find it and come up with solutions so I could do all the things I needed to do. I thought that was my answer to whether I should text my dad. Yesterday, I got a new phone and was talking to my mom. She texted me, saying I needed to send my dad a message. She always reminds me to send birthday and holiday texts since I'm notorious for forgetting. I said I would do it later, as I still hadn't decided if I was going to. She then told me that she gave my dad $20 on my behalf. I was shocked. She said all my siblings had agreed to send him $20 for a hotel room. We all know he'll probably gamble it away. I had never agreed to this. Due to my stolen phone, I had been pretty much out of contact, though I had still talked to her through my roommates. She also could have waited and asked if I was okay with it, which I would have said no to. I don't think my mom will ask for the $20 back, she just seemed to do it in my name. Regardless, I was pissed. So, I didn't text my dad because I wanted to make sure he knew that I haven't forgiven him and that we don't have a relationship anymore. I also did it to spite my mom for putting my name on a gift I never agreed to.
Happened.
This meant that anyone could barge in when accept the offer, but I'm not sure I no message. She always regardless, I was pissed. So, I didn't text my dad because I wanted to make sure he knew that I haven't forgiven him and that we don't have a relationship anymore. I also did it to spite my mom for putting my name on a gift I never agreed to.
I guess that was the end.
I spent 20 years in the Army, whether you're a veteran or civilian. Everything that Senator Kaine is doing to create jobs in Virginia is also strengthening and supporting.
Don't get free
the military
advertisement from
families.
me. Get
Makes
out
that
of here.
transition from
I
soldier
don't know what
to
they're talking
civilian
about.
a lot
Ignore
smoother.
them. No free advertisement. Ignore them.
Embrace the
Can I have a skip
where
button,
each moment
please?
turns.
My daughter's father abandoned us when she was born and made me raise her as a single mom. Now 4 years later, he shows up out of nowhere, without ever having paid child support, and wants to be a parent. Posted by you/TasingMamum. I, 33F, am a single mother to a 6-year-old girl. I've raised my daughter all on my own. She was born from a one-night stand with a now former friend, 37M. We never got together, and he refused to be involved in my pregnancy or my daughter's first 4 years of life. I was emotionally stressed because it's a big change, but I never asked for child support or forced him to be involved. I have enough income to send my daughter to private school. I'm perfectly fine on my own. The issue started when he reappeared from wherever he went and decided he wanted visitation. He's not on my daughter's birth certificate, the father is listed as unknown. He wanted to have that amended. I said no, and that if he wants, the best he'll get is to meet her during outings with myself or my daughter's godparents. He agreed, but he's been constantly pressuring for parental rights. The court already gave him a big fat no, unless he pays 4 years of child support, which, with his income, amounts to around $230K USD. He hasn't paid a cent. My daughter doesn't even call him dad or recognize him as her dad. She calls him Mr. I keep things very clean, I never badmouthed him or made up stories. When she asked about her father, I used to say it was just the two of us. Even during court, the assigned CPS agent testified that my daughter had no affection for or clear relationship with her biological father. The main issue happened during a parent-teacher association meeting. He would say things like my family thinks or what is best for my family. I disagreed with him and voiced that my daughter has different needs and those are the priority. He was clearly angry. After the meeting, there was a moment for teachers and parents to mingle and talk about how the kids are doing. One of the teachers approached me to apologize, saying she didn't know that my husband and I didn't like a project she was doing with the kids. I told her I had no husband and that my daughter loved the project and wanted to be part of it. The teacher then told me that my former friend was going around talking as if he's my husband and that he represents the family. I saw red. I walked up to him and very loudly told him we needed to talk in private. In the parking lot, I told him we were not a family and that he either needed to respect that I am the only one who can make decisions about my daughter's education, or he wouldn't be involved. He went on about being her biological father, and I reminded him that he hadn't paid a cent for the pregnancy, my daughter's needs, or even the private school she attends. He hasn't tried to see my daughter since, which she doesn't mind at all. I asked her. I do feel a bit bad about what I said. Am I wrong here? Edit. I wanted to add this because the PMs are driving me insane. He has the money to pay child support, he chose not to pay. He was never prohibited from being involved. He had my phone number, and I sent him pictures and invited him to birthdays and other big celebrations. He never came. We are not in the US. Update 1 week later. I'm going to preface this by saying that my 6-year-old daughter's father, whom I will call Jeff, has never been my romantic partner. We had a one-night stand. I don't like people calling him my ex, as it makes it seem like we had some kind of emotional attachment. He was never involved after I told him I was pregnant and actually wanted me to terminate the pregnancy, but I decided to raise my child alone since I have enough money to do so without child support. For the whole pregnancy and the first 4 years, Jeff was not in the picture. On my mother's recommendation, I did send him pictures and invited him to special events, but he always replied that he had no interest in my daughter. 2 years ago, he reappeared and began demanding parental rights. When I didn't comply with his demands, he sued, but was told no, he was not getting parental rights. He was given the option to pay child support, after which his request for rights could be revisited, but he has refused. He has the money, much more than I do, but he still refuses. I still offered to let him see my daughter in a casual manner, with no child support needed, under the agreement that anything legal, medical, or educational would not involve him. He pushed the boundaries at the PTA, and we had a fallout. After that, we didn't hear from him for almost 6 weeks before he called to meet for Christmas. After much discussion, I agreed to bring my daughter over, on the condition that my daughter's godparents could come. So, we went over for Christmas dinner.
The gay
only
little
to find out
baker.
that Jeff
Lara's
is married
doing
and
some
had
bit of
never
drawing
told
with
his family he
me.
had a
Boo
child.
tomato.
It was great
Look.
being judged by a bunch of
I was here
strangers.
first.
It was uncomfortable the whole time.
I was here first.
I'm going to use fake names, but let's say my daughter's name is Katie.
Can you say hi
His
to
wife
me?
kept calling my daughter
Hello,
Gabrielle,
Jelly Pop Cat.
not the actual name she
Hello.
used, but it was that different from my daughter's name. The wife was also very physical, trying to pick up my daughter or parent her. I would block
Fake
her or
friend.
politely ask her
Shush.
to let me handle my child. The whole
I'm
time,
too
she
busy
pretty
drawing
much ignored me,
Sprout
but
as
Katie didn't
strawberry
seem nervous,
shortcake.
so I decided to just bide my time. I
The
hit my limit when my
hush over
daughter
there.
said she needed the bathroom, and this stranger went, "Oh, Gabby, you need the potty? Let mommy change you." My daughter hasn't worn diapers in a while, and she's more than capable of going to the bathroom on her own. I immediately told her to stay away from my daughter and that we were leaving. The woman started wailing that I was kidnapping her baby girl and tried to lunge at me. Her in-laws stepped in, holding her back and consoling her, telling her that we weren't leaving and to calm down, as if she were the victim. At that point, I just glared at Jeff and told him he had better explain, or I would call the police. He asked me to speak in private in another room and suggested I leave my daughter with his parents. There was no way that was happening. Katie's godparents took her with them despite the wife having a full meltdown. Jeff and I spoke outside, and he explained that he and his wife had recently lost a daughter. I won't go into specific details, but it was sudden and nobody's fault. As you can imagine, it caused some psychological issues for his wife. Apparently, Jeff had the brilliant idea that having Katie pass as their lost child would help his wife, without telling me. That's why he wanted visitations and parental rights. He pleaded with me to leave my daughter with him for a little bit. I asked him what his plan was for when his wife heals. His response was disgusting. "Well, I'll just send Katie back with you, and it will be just like before." I told him he was insane if he thought I would let him use my daughter like that. What his wife needs is therapy with a professional, not someone feeding her delusions. And I made it clear that I would not let that woman anywhere near my daughter. He told me I was being cruel and didn't understand the pain of losing a child. I agreed but reminded Jeff that my priority is not his family, it's my child. What he and his family do to work through their grief has nothing to do with us. I also told him to call his lawyer because I'm making sure he
I
never has
won't be
contact with my
silent.
child again.
No.
So that's what I'm bracing for. He's
Ellie,
been blasting my
no.
phone
Ellie,
since
look,
Christmas,
it's
but I
fine.
can easily ignore him.
Everything is
My
fine.
daughter and I are going on a small
look
vacation.
how cute Sprout is.
Edit.
Just look at him.
This isn't an update.
Can I
just
see the
something
Shelly
I feel
real
needs
quick?
to be said. My daughter is set for life financially. She has a trust,
Ellie.
and I make really good money in my position. If she were 18 right now, I could put her through college without any loans. She doesn't need child support for her quality of life.
Ellie.
If I could get child support and never
Aw.
worry about her father
I love
trying
this
something,
little. I just
I would
like.
sue him in a heartbeat.
I picked a random
But after talking
dinosaur,
to a lawyer and understanding the risks,
and I really,
I've made
really
the
like
decision
this.
that child
This little
support or
design.
potential inheritance is not worth risking my child's safety. Safety is always.
I think it's cute that I still have to do V. I'm either gonna do V as Vox from Has Been Hotel or Mr. Puzzle. I haven't decided it yet between the two of them. But I think it's cute that Astro is Princess Luna, Sprout is Strawberry Shortcake, V is either gonna be Mr. Puzzle or Vox, which are all three of those are like fictional characters, and then Shelly's just like, yeah, what's this dinosaur called? A Pterodon. I'm a Pterodon. Ah, I love Shelly so much. I love her so much. She's just me.
Always first. Second update 2 weeks later.
The more I learned at ECPI,
No, no more learning. Quiet. Quiet over there.
Hey everyone, I decided to post one last update, as I'll be going completely silent for a long time. A lot of people were concerned for my daughter and me, and I truly appreciate it. We're both safe. She's currently enjoying a great vacation with her godparents, and I'm making my own arrangements to move forward. My lawyer is working hard to keep everything in order. A cease and desist was his first action, and we're aiming for no contact. He says we have a solid case, and hopefully, this will be resolved relatively quickly, though that means a year or two. We did get a temporary restraining order, which lasts until our first court date, but it could be extended after that. I haven't had direct contact with Jeff. He lawyered up as well and tried to send a threat about taking full custody. My lawyer laughed at it, as the reasoning was parental alienation, which doesn't hold up considering I have proof that I tried for years to involve him. Apparently, submitting a few emails showing my efforts was enough to get them to change the parental alienation claim to something else. My lawyer isn't worried at all. After much thought, I've decided that moving is going to be necessary. It won't be something I can do on a whim, but I'll be looking into new houses within the month, with the goal of moving sometime this year. School will remain the same, but we will be speaking to the administration to ensure only certain people are allowed to pick her up. Part of that decision includes hiring a private driver. He's someone I trust completely and who has worked for relatives in the past, so I'm very comfortable with the idea, and so is my daughter. Now I just have to make sure they don't go for fast food every day after school. Honestly, things aren't that scary right now. I have a good lawyer, solid evidence, and my little girl is happy and healthy. I'm just going to focus on handling things little by little. Because of the legal proceedings, I don't expect to be posting any updates anytime soon. And to those sending me PMs calling me horrible for keeping my daughter from her father or telling me I shouldn't have had her in the first place, please kindly direct your thoughts to the void. I'm too busy. Third
Direct your
update 2
thoughts
months,
to
2
the
weeks
void.
later. I had no intention of making a new post, but today absolutely took the cake. I didn't have to deal with Jeff directly, but instead, he sent a priest to harass me at work. I'm going to be very blunt. I'm completely detached from religion. I'm not an atheist, but I don't really like the idea of the
Toodles
Catholic
erase.
Church, which is the leading religion in my home country.
Eraser.
I respect it.
We need
and most
100
of my family
toodles.
is Catholic, so I have a detached respect for church officials.
Listen, I've been trying to play Dandy's World with you so we could have our Toodles run. And you were busy. You were busy because you had to do work or whatever. I know you don't care. You don't want to play Dandy's World with me. I get it. It's fine. I'm just gonna sit here with my Reddit
Today,
stories.
I was doing some paperwork when I got a call about a priest asking for me. I didn't have any meetings scheduled, and we often get visits from clergy asking for donations or participation in events, so I figured that's what it was. I told the secretary to let him in, and at first, everything seemed polite. We shook hands, exchanged pleasantries, and made the usual small talk. Then the priest started talking about how it had come to his attention that I was a single woman with a child and that, apparently, I was living a life of debauchery and hate his words.
Oh God.
I was taken aback, but I agreed that I was a single mother, though I didn't see how I was living in debauchery and hate. He then went on to say that he knew my daughter was being prohibited from spending time with her father and accused me of constantly sleeping around with men instead of living a godly life. He expressed concern and suggested that it would be best for my daughter to live with a proper family rather than watch me sell myself. Angry was an understatement. I kept it civil because I was at work, and I had no intention of yelling at a religious man in a professional setting. I calmly told him that my daughter was fine with me, she lived a safe and happy life, my personal affairs were my own, and I had no intention of sending her to another household. I then mentioned that if there was nothing else, he should probably leave, as I had other matters to attend to. That's when he revealed his true intentions, confirming it was Jeff's doing. The priest told me he didn't think my daughter would be happy with me,
Shelley
but that
run,
her
and
father
they
was well
kept
respected in his church and would raise her as a proper
King
Christian
Mama
lady.
V.
At that, I laughed and simply said, no. I once again recommended he leave, and if he didn't, I would be calling security.
Mama V.
He left,
Mama
saying
V.
he would try to speak to me again when I'm not being hysterical. I informed my secretary and security not to let him into my office again and immediately called my lawyer. While I don't have audio, we do have security footage of him entering my office. Thank you again to everyone who sent well wishes on my previous post. We're still working on the move, but school is back in session, and my daughter is loving it. We still have the temporary restraining order against Jeff and his wife, and school officials are fully aware of it. Fourth update 2 months 3 weeks later.
My
No,
home,
Verizon.
my rules. My
Shut
internet,
up, Verizon.
now that too.
Shut up, Verizon.
Introducing My Home
Shut
from
up,
Verizon.
Verizon.
It's internet
Shut
made
up,
simple.
Verizon.
Choose what you need,
Shut up,
change when you want,
Verizon.
and save.
Shut up, Verizon.
Hey Reddit, this update came far earlier than planned, and while I'm happy to announce that my daughter and I are finally free, there's some sad news mixed in. Before I dive into the update, I'll answer a few questions I've received. Did I know Jeff was married? No, he wasn't married when we had our one-night stand. Are you interested in Jeff? No, I'm aromantic, meaning I don't develop romantic feelings. I don't think that mindset is healthy for a long-term partner, so I refuse to date. I was fine with one-night stands until I had my daughter. Why did you send information to Jeff? Because my mother recommended it, and she was absolutely right. If I hadn't, he could have sued me for parental alienation. By trying to get him involved, I've been able to prove that I'm not keeping him away out of spite but because I genuinely believe he's a danger. Why don't you talk more about your daughter's emotions/status? No offense, but I'm only going to share limited information about my 6-year-old. This is the internet, and while most people on Reddit aren't bad, I prefer to protect her privacy. Now, for the update. While our case has yet to be formally reviewed, we were scheduled for September 2025, Jeff's lawyer contacted mine to say they were dropping their demand for parental rights. About 6 weeks ago, Jeff formally agreed to relinquish any claims to rights or responsibilities for my daughter. I know a lot of people might wonder, but what about child support or inheritance? Keep reading, and I'll explain why it's not worth it. My lawyer thoroughly reviewed the documents to ensure it wasn't some kind of legal trap, and he confirmed they were legitimate. Jeff wasn't asking for anything in return, just to drop all claims. I didn't question it further, had the documents signed, and now we're just waiting a few weeks for confirmation that everything is finalized. Since both parties agree, it should move relatively quickly through the courts. If it seems odd that Jeff suddenly gave up, I thought the same. To be honest, I was half tempted to dig around, but I was too busy making arrangements. As some people suggested, I will be moving. I'm not leaving the country, but I plan to move closer to my support system, which includes my daughter's godparents. It turns out there's a property for sale less than 5 minutes away from them. There's no house built yet, so I have a lot to handle, but that's where I plan to make our new home. We also adopted not 1, not 2, but 3 dogs. The cat is probably plotting my demise over it. With all these changes, I have to admit, I didn't have time to snoop. The whole situation ended up coming to me rather than me having to dig. I ran into Jeff's in-laws by coincidence while waiting in a store. I had met them briefly during that chaotic Christmas party last year, but this was the first time we actually talked. Thankfully, my daughter was at school, as the conversation turned heavy. They recognized me and asked if we could talk. I wasn't sure at first, but I decided to be polite and offered to buy them a coffee. They were very kind and not entitled at all. They explained that they were sorry for their daughter's behavior, and that she hadn't been the same since losing her child. For those who guessed she was using her deceased baby's name for my daughter, you were right. They just wanted to clear the air. I told them I didn't blame them personally, but I couldn't forgive their daughter, as she had been a big concern for me. That's when everything hit the fan. The mother started crying, and the father explained that Jeff's wife had passed away, self-inflicted. I felt like absolute crap for the things I had said. I apologized, but they were very gracious and assured me they knew I had no idea. We talked a bit about her and their grandchild, and I found out that what Jeff told me about how his child died was a lie. Now, I don't feel so kind about keeping it quiet. Jeff shook his infant because she was colicky. Colic is when babies cry nonstop for no clear reason. I was furious. I still am. No one should ever shake a baby to the point where they pass away. That's just diabolical in my opinion. Jeff had told me his child died from sudden infant mortality, which is sadly common here, but now I know the truth. They talked about Jeff and how he had sworn up and down that I would agree with his plan to have my daughter pass as their lost grandchild, thinking it would help their daughter heal. I can understand how, in their grief, they weren't thinking straight. Jeff is a charmer, and combined with grief, that leads to bad decisions. There were other things said, but the main point was that they didn't want any resentment from me toward their family or their daughter. I reassured them that I didn't hate them or their daughter and expressed how sorry I was for what they'd been through. They gave me a picture of my daughter's half-sister. She was a very cute baby, and I plan to explain things to my daughter one day. I think it's important that she knows. I also now know where Jeff's wife and her baby are buried. I don't think I'll visit yet, but when things aren't as raw, I'll take my daughter to visit her sister. I called my lawyer afterward to inform him of these new details. He did reprimand me for speaking to the in-laws alone, but he understood the situation. My lawyer is a good friend and tends to be very blunt when I make mistakes. He promised that he's ensuring any remaining legal ties between Jeff and my daughter are fully cut. More things have come to light as well. People were right, Jeff had been lying to everyone, trying to portray himself as a saintly father who was unfairly kept from his one surviving daughter. Unfortunately, in my country, single mothers are often judged as homewreckers or SLTs, so I've had a few bad encounters with people hurling insults and threats at me. Another thing that came up, which happened about 2 weeks before Jeff gave up, he started telling people that he offered to marry me, but I refused and that I was always after his money. Not sure how that makes sense. Thankfully, that lie didn't go far with those who actually know us, since I've always made it clear I'm never getting married. And I definitely don't need his money. I worked my way into a high-income job to care for my mom, and now my daughter. I don't care for excessive luxury. Jeff's wife passed away shortly before he sent the agreement to relinquish all claims to my daughter, which does explain why he gave up. Still, I think he's one of the most horrible human beings alive, an entitled, heartless scum. He felt entitled to my daughter, failed his wife, and unalived an innocent baby. I hope karma is real and gives him everything he deserves. I want to say more, but I don't want to break Reddit's rules. I might update this post if anything else happens, but I truly hope this is the end. I just want to close this chapter and focus on a new start. Up on why Jeff is not in jail. I can't say for sure. You have to understand that I'm going off what the in-laws told me and what I know of Jeff. I'm not a detective, my guess is he either paid his way out or managed to make it look like an accident. As far as everyone I've spoken to who knew about his child, they believe the same story I did, that she died suddenly in her sleep. I don't doubt the in-laws, though. It sounds like something Jeff would do at this point. Op on her country's laws. We're not in the US, first of all. American law doesn't apply here. In this country, a well-placed bribe to the right person can make a lot of things go away. Fifth update 3 months later. Well, it's been 3 months, and it's all good news. To begin with, we're finally free of Jeff. Life is pretty much back to normal. My daughter only asked about Jeff once, when we went to the park where we used to meet him, and it was just to make sure Mr. wasn't there. We also visited her baby sister's grave together. I explained the situation to her as best I could. I don't think she fully understands yet what happened with her half-sister, but we'll go through it little by little. Another big change is that I'm dating someone. And no, I'm still aromantic. My best friend, who had been living in the US, recently came back and asked me out. When I told him I was aromantic, he said there was no pressure for romantic feelings, he just wanted a partner he could trust. While this isn't a traditional relationship, it's really nice. I adore him as a friend, even though I don't have romantic feelings for him. He's met my daughter, but we're taking things slow and won't be moving in together for a long time. Through the grapevine, I heard that Jeff is apparently engaged again. I think it's a very good thing we made that no-contact agreement. If he ever tries anything regarding my daughter, that document will be enough for the court to tell him to back off. Overall, we're happy and safe. I'm grateful for all the support here through the hell that was dealing with Jeff.
Oh. Strawberry shortcake! Yeah! Sprout as strawberry shortcake. Here's all tangled.
My ex-husband is gravely ill, but his current wife doesn't
Oh,
care and
thank
wants
you
him
for
to
the
go
little
next life. Now our
roses.
kids are begging me
Thank
to save him,
you.
but since he blindsided me in the divorce, I'm turning a blind eye to his
Oh,
woes.
sweet, thank
Posted by you
you.
slash
Thank you,
visible
Shelly.
underscore yesterday underscore 62. I, 56F, have been married to my wife,
Speaking of
Angela,
Shelly,
56F, for a year,
I don't know
and
if
we're
you got a
planning our
chance
first
to see
anniversary
this,
celebration with a trip overseas.
but this
I was
is
very
what
excited to spend this time with my wife, but
the rig of
unfortunately, my
Big
ex-husband,
Shelly
Dan,
looks like. So
58M, has recently been hospitalized, which is putting a damper on my plans.
she doesn't really have it. She's not moving yet, so she's kind of chilling here. She'll move eventually. We'll get there. I wanted to go ahead and design all of their costumes before I lost total motivation. That if I start getting art blocky block, at least I can still queen with art block. Or not art block, with motivation. That's fine. We will make it work. Never give up. Never surrender. Green, green. I love classic strawberry shortcake. And it's weird looking because I had to look at all the different strawberry shortcake designs to find the one I was thinking of, which is the original. Why is only the original one have an apron? Like she's strawberry shortcake, she's a baker and she's a gardener, but why does only the original design have an apron? Answer me this. But who owns strawberry shortcake? Hasbro? Answer me. Oh, thank you for the rose. You're so sweet. I haven't heard strawberry shortcake in a long time. Yeah, I think it's because recently I watched a breakdown video of it was strawberry shortcake related. It was still a while ago, but I don't know why, but I was thinking of different ideas for costumes. And for some reason, all I could think about was Sprout in a strawberry shortcake outfit, specifically the one with the apron, which happens to be the original design. I don't know if you'll be able to get those ideas. Also, technically, her undershirt original has seeds, strawberry seeds, but I feel like that's gonna be a tweening nightmare, so I'm just gonna leave that out.
Backstory: I met Dan in college, and we got married shortly after graduating when we found out that I was pregnant. At the time, it felt like the right thing to do, but looking back, it was a bad idea. I resented having to put my career aspirations on hold to be the full-time caregiver, and Dan resented having to be the main financial provider. However, this did not stop him from constantly bringing it up whenever I asked him to help with the kids or the home. He also never defended me when his mother would stop by, unannounced, and the household wasn't up to the Queen's standard. I felt so exhausted and trapped, and if it weren't for my kids, Junior, 34M, Sarah, 32F, Michelle, 29F, and Mike, 29M.
Oh my
I
god,
would've
how
left
many
years ago.
kids she have with this guy?
Unfortunately, Dan did not share the same values as I did and
Jeez.
blindsided me with divorce papers. It was a rough process, but after the first year of our divorce being finalized, I got my groove back, and within the next 4 years, I was able to get a nice apartment and a good career. Fast forward to the present, a couple of weeks ago, Dan was rushed to the hospital, and while the doctors were able to save him, his health took a turn for the worse. His wife is now essentially working to provide for their kids, while her parents watch them to save on daycare. I learned all of this through my children, as I do not care to have any direct contact with Dan, but almost every time I talk to them, they always bring up how stressed and tired they are from having to look after their father. I thought I was just being a sympathetic ear, but a couple of days ago, my children came together to confront me about my lack of willingness to offer assistance to their father. They said that as their mother, I should want to care for him to make their lives easier. My children know that, while I have a full-time job, I can make up my own hours, and they want me to come to his house at least twice a week to make sure he's clean and fed, or pay for a nurse to do it. I refused, stating that Dan and I have been divorced for years and that their stepmom can handle it. That's when they told me that she doesn't care about their dad like they do and is most likely hoping for him to pass so she can collect on his insurance policy as the legal wife. My daughter Sarah then began to cry and asked me if I cared whether or not she had a dad anymore, while Junior and Mike thought I was being bitter. Michelle asked me to put them first and said that I could reschedule my anniversary trip with Angela. My former in-laws are also calling me, saying that I need to do this and that I'd be a horrible mom if I didn't. Am I wrong for not wanting to care for my ex-husband? Commenter. Turn this completely around and ask your children how long you're supposed to put your life on hold. Are you never allowed to be happy and live your life? Tell your children that, between the four of them and their grandparents, they can split the costs of hiring a nurse, healthcare professional, or domestic aid to go to their father's house twice a week.
Roses are so sweet.
Why should you have to pay
These
for
are like
his
this
care?
is the first stream
You
I've
don't
ever
have a
had
bank, but
where
the
I've
mental strength
gotten
to be their father's
like these
caregiver.
the little roses
It's
and stuff.
manipulative
I've never
and cruel
had
of
those
them to
before, so
emotionally
thank
coerce you
you.
into becoming your
A new
ex's
experience.
caregiver. Ops response. Dan's.
Does Cosmo and Sprout have matching outfits? If I had the time, I would totally have had them do a duo costume. Like I would have had more characters in this, but I started literally yesterday, and I'm trying to post it tomorrow night. At least Halloween night. I don't know why I waited so long. I mean, I had this idea literally a couple days ago, and then last night I sat down to do it. I don't know what I would have done for their matching. I like Sprout a strawberry shortcake, but that doesn't really give Cosmo anything to be. What is Shelly based off of? Shelly is so every other so I'm doing the three mains, Astro, or I'm doing four of the mains, Astro, Shelly, Sprout, and then V is next. But Shelly is not based on a character. She is a pterodon. Pterodon? Pterodon? I just looked up dinosaurs and I picked the coolest one. It's like it's that dinosaur from oh my goodness, what's that show? Dinosaur Train. You've seen Dinosaur Train. He's the conductor. And I guess I need to decide. I'm gonna make the B is either going to be Mr. Puzzle or Vox. I'm gonna look at Mr. Puzzles. So silly looking. Look how lanky he is. I might do Mr. Puzzles because yeah, Mr. Puzzles would honestly just be easier to do. Fox just has so many colors, and the lines on his suit are gonna make tweening a nightmare. Okay. This project is literally, what can I do to make this easier for myself? So, looks like B is going to be puzzles.
His parents are retired and rely on him to pay their bills. I'm told that Dan's wife freaked out at the mention of having his parents move in to help save money, and his mom's mobility isn't great, so it's not like she can do all the cooking and cleaning. They all expect me not just to check on him, but to actually take care of him, as in feed him, wash him, give him his medicines at the appropriate times, help him with his exercises, etc. It would practically be a full-time job,
Hell no.
and they want me to do it nearly every day, as if I don't have a job of my own. Also, my ex-in-laws have previously said they think I baby-trapped their precious baby boy because I didn't want to work, so they were happy when he left me. They felt he deserved better, even accused one of my children of not being his because they didn't look enough like him. Update 2 months 2 weeks later. I saw that I had a few messages from people asking for an update, so I thought I'd share. First, some people seemed confused, so let me be clear. I'm a woman who is married to another woman. My own parents passed away years ago, so their opinion is irrelevant. My wife and I both have children from previous relationships, but we didn't meet until after our children were adults, so my wife and I are the only ones who have lived together. Now, onto what almost everyone cares about the most.
Bestie.
I went on the cruise. It was great, and my wife and I had a wonderful time. Predictably, my children were unhappy, and I'm sure my temporary blocking of them didn't help. Most of them kept calling, telling me I was selfish and awful for choosing to go on vacation instead of being there for the family. But, as many of you have said, I reminded them that their father divorced me, and therefore my obligations to him ended. If any of them had a medical need, I would cancel without question, but I would not do that for their father. I thought I could leave it at that, but my kids kept calling and texting during the first 3 days of the trip, which is when I decided to block them. Unfortunately, my ex's health took a turn for the worse, and he had to go back to the hospital. His lack of proper care triggered an investigation. I don't know all the details, my kids didn't say, and I didn't ask, but apparently, instead of getting better, he's getting worse because all of the doctor's orders aren't being followed. I didn't know any of this until I unblocked my kids the day I got back, and some of them blamed me for it. I've come to the conclusion that they're all just mad at the situation, and I'm a convenient villain. I've accepted this because I can understand the fear and anger of facing the idea of losing a parent you love. I just hope that one day we can all sit down with a family therapist and mediate the situation. However, this did start to trigger my past tendencies of sacrificing my own happiness and well-being for my children, but my wife, therapist, and even a small part of my inner self reminded me that my children are adults, and my ex isn't my responsibility. I tried to reach out, but so far, most of my children aren't speaking to me
Thank you
and have
for
made
the
it very
roses.
clear that I will not be able to see my grandchildren.
What is that story thing? It's just I'm listening to Reddit stories, and I know that personally sometimes I like to be able to see the words. So I was like, how can I put that on the stream? So it's kind of small, but I put it on here so if you want to see the words, especially if I start talking while it's still playing, you can still see it. They're just Reddit stories I'm listening to. Feel free to suggest anything if you guys have anything, any suggestions. They don't have to be Reddit stories, they could be
Children as punishment.
Here
It's
comes
sad,
V.
and I'm still wrestling with the
I
guilt
love
and
V
doubt,
so much.
but my wife and stepchildren are being very supportive, while my other family is a mix, and most of my friends are neutral. Commenter. Why aren't the kids helping him? Ops response. To be fair, they were helping out in the beginning, but they've had to take time away from work and their own families to support their father, and the pressure is starting to wear on them. I live closer and have much more free time than they do, and I did raise them with the expectation that I would always sacrifice for them when they were growing up.
Okay, give me an orc.
All right, boys.
What
Looks
is
like meat's
going
back
on?
on the menu.
All right, how about a
Leave me be.
Sorry, Grandma, I can't find out how to properly do CPR on you because YouTube is making me sit through a 2-minute ad for Pizza Hut. You can install.
Shut up.
My fiancé wants me to convert to his religion.
What
and
happened
slam
to the
dunk me
other
in holy
one?
water.
Where did
My ex-husband is to
Hello?
support their father, and the pressure is starting to wear on them. I live closer and have much more free time than they do, and I did raise them with the expectation that I would always sacrifice for them when they were growing up. My fiancé wants me to convert to his religion and
Okay,
slam
I
dunk
guess
me in
that
holy
one's
water
over.
to prove I really care about him, despite me repeatedly telling him no. So I guess
Oh
it's
my
God's
goodness,
plan to keep him
thank
simple.
you for all the
Posted by me
roses.
/throwaway
It's
Thaddeus
so
Up.
sweet,
So,
thank
my
you.
fiancé Todd, 41M, and I, 35F,
Hi,
met over
janitor
a
and
decade ago and share a mutual
janitor
friend group.
underdead
We
chick.
started dating
Sorry.
last year and got engaged last month. Generally speaking, he treats me like a queen. He spoils me a lot, and I always appreciate it. He's usually respectful, kind, communicative, and patient with me. However, this started to change, and I believe the shift began once I accepted the ring. I want to be clear, I don't particularly care about getting married. I'm perfectly fine with not doing so. My parents aren't married, but they've been in love and together for over 40 years. Most of my siblings are unmarried, yet they're in seemingly happy relationships, each lasting at least 5 years. However, Todd is Christian and believes that two people eventually need to get married to be truly happy. We talked about this at length, both before we became a couple and after we started dating. I made it clear that I don't want or need a ring, but if it's important to a partner I love, then fine, I'd be willing to have a small wedding. He was overjoyed when he proposed, and I said yes in front of pretty much everyone in our social circle. However, later on, he said I didn't seem excited enough and that it felt like I didn't really want to marry him. I reassured him that I love him, and if he wants a marriage, then sure, we can get married. But as far as me wanting to get married, I explained that I know it's something he wants, and since it doesn't matter to me either way, it seemed like a simple decision, so why not? I said this somewhat jokingly to lighten the mood, but he didn't appreciate it. Since then, nearly every other day, he finds a way to ask if I really want to marry him or he'll just say he feels like I don't. I suggested couples therapy, as this issue seems to be weighing heavily on him, but he responded that he's done therapy before and doesn't need it again. Then, last week on our usual date night, he said he had something really big to ask me. Call it a favor if that makes it easier, he said, and then asked me to come to his church and get baptized. I just stared at him. I'm an atheist and have been since my mid-20s. He's known that for years, and we've always been respectful of each other's beliefs. I told him I couldn't do that. Baptism is supposed to be sacred and done with a true heart for that faith, and I would be lying if I said I wanted to live for his God because, frankly, I don't. He argued that it's just a splash of water and some words, and since he wants it done before our wedding and I don't care about religion either way, it should be an easy thing for me to do. I refused again, explaining that I do care about religion. My majors were world religions and anthropology, so I care a lot. It would be dishonest to his God and our community for me to outwardly dedicate my life to his religion when,
I don't know how many
inwardly, I
roses
don't
I
believe in
sent.
it.
Oh, I see.
told him
I
it felt
appreciate all of
disrespectful to
them.
his
Thank
faith
you
and to
so
the people who
much.
truly live by it. He got angry and said, "Oh, so
Literally
you're okay
so sweet.
disrespecting me, though?" When I asked what he meant, he told me to drop it and change the subject. I pressed further, but he raised his voice, saying, "I said drop it," loudly enough for others around us to turn and look. He's been acting distant and robotic around me since then, spending days up in his study all night, sleeping on the couch in there, and attending every service and event his church has. This includes most weekday nights, Saturday mornings, and Sundays. He's also been inviting me to every single one of these events, something he hadn't done since we first started dating. Back then, I told him that while I respect his beliefs, I would only attend special events like weddings, christenings, or baptisms, but not regular services. Tonight, he asked me again to come, and I reminded him of our previous conversation. He then dropped onto our couch and started sobbing. When I went over to comfort him and try to talk, he pushed me away and muttered something about being late for the service as he left. His sister, Esther, texted me to ask what happened. I gave her a brief summary, and she replied, saying I was being a jerk and that one service isn't going to make me burst into flames. She emphasized that it's important to Todd. So, am I being a bonehead? Am I crazy to think that this pressure is a deal breaker? I do love him, but this version of him feels like a stranger and a weight on me.
Oh.
Aren't people supposed to work through difficult issues to make a relationship work? Commenter. You are clearly not compatible. He seems to be doing a lot to make you happy, but you're not doing the same for him. Just break up and be done with it. Ops response. Just to be clear, what exactly doesn't count as stuff for him? Is it the fact that instead of paying a fraction of his college costs for this upcoming semester, I covered it all for him? Or maybe it's that I gave him my old car when his broke down, transferred it to his name, and didn't
How
ask
are
him to
you?
pay a dime?
I'm doing good.
Wait, could it be because I cook for him
been-
every weekday when I'm home?
Everything's been doing pretty good. Just taking day by day. College is kicking my ass, but my goodness, what is that? I've never even seen that one before. Is that a little witchy cat? Oh, it's so cute! Thank you! Thank you so much. Is that Dandy's World art? Did you hear about the creator? This is Dandy's World, and I don't know if you're talking about the creator or if you're talking about rocks. If you're talking about rocks, then I have heard about him, and he got fired. Point and laugh, point and laugh. I hope he never works on a game ever again. I want his slimy fingers away from anything. Get him away. Anyways. Thank you for the roses. Thank you.
Do the grocery shopping so he doesn't have to. Let him move in rent-free because he couldn't afford to renew his lease, and even got him a man shed out back, all at my expense, so he'd have a place to decompress and paint? No, not that? Maybe I should have funded his entire mission trip last year instead of just half, is that it? Or perhaps you mean that I do the majority of the housework so he can focus on his degree?
Damn.
No, I'm sure
Came
you're
with
talking about the
receipts.
time I found his college buddies from his undergrad years, flew his mother in for his 40th birthday, had the party catered, decorated, and even hired a bartender. Or is it more basic, like the fact that when he went vegan, I changed my whole lifestyle, only ate vegan at home and purged all non-vegan items, except for the dog's food, from the house? Thank you, because I'm actually realizing now just how much I've done for this man, and you're right, he should treat me like a queen because I've treated him like a king. This was eye-opening. Edit. He texted me a few minutes ago, saying that when he gets home, he wants to have a serious talk. I explained that my best friend is over, so it would have to wait. He replied, "No, tell her to leave. Give her my love, but this is serious." I talked with my best friend, Bessie, 35F, and read some of the comments here. I told him no, it wouldn't happen. He can go to his parents' house, and he's welcome to come in and pack a bag, but Bess is here for me right now, and I need her with me. He hasn't responded. Edit. He has never raised a hand to me. He would never, and if it's not for the reason I used to think, that he's simply not that kind of person, it would at least be because I'm a military brat. Both my parents are military, so not only am I trained to defend myself well, but my parents ahem would not take kindly to that. A lot of people brought up kids. I can't get pregnant. I used to want kids, but after that happened, I became okay with the idea of not having any. He said he was okay with that too, and we talked about just being dog rescue people. My family likes him. My father, who is a pastor, loves the guy. But no, I haven't told him about this situation yet. He is non-denominational and goes to a mega church in our state, literally thousands of people. No, it's not a requirement for marriage at his church for me to convert. Update 1 week later.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car.
Check this out? No. No.
Okay,
no,
ready?
thank you.
All right,
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Last week, I posted about an issue between myself and my fiancé, Todd. Despite having been respectful of each other's beliefs until now, he's Christian and I'm an atheist. He recently asked me to get baptized. Things escalated, and he stormed out, so I called my BFF to keep me company since I was feeling sad and emotional. I do a lot for him, and Bess, my best friend, along with many of you here, helped me realize that the
To be honest,
relationship
he
either
could
needs
have kept
serious
his
changes or
job
it
if he
needs to end.
thought better.
That makes logical sense.
If he
but
wasn't
it's
a
hard to hold on
creep.
to logic when you're
Yeah.
heartbroken. I think I already knew he wouldn't change anything
I
for
feel like
me.
these stories did
That
not
night,
happen.
I texted him
The
and told him
Reddit
he needs
stories?
to go back to his
Yeah, most
parents'
likely.
house. The house we live in is mine,
A lot of
and
them
I
I'm
need
pretty sure
space.
either fictional or
Bessie and
AI
his sister
generated.
gave his parents an alternate version of events
But
because
they're
they came by that
entertaining to
night
listen
anyway,
to,
all
that's
of
for
them.
sure.
His mom, dad, sister Esther, and him. He had a key, so he just walked in while Bess and I were drinking on the couch watching Netflix. I asked what he was doing here, and his family followed him into the room. I asked what was going on. The way he looked at me is unexplainable, but his mom pushed past him and pulled me into a very aggressive hug. She said they were here to talk as a family and have a family meeting, then told Bess she
my
needed to leave.
God.
Bess refused. His mom turned to me and asked me to have Bess leave. I refused, saying it was late and I wasn't in any state to talk further. I asked them to please leave. It devolved into passive-aggressive disapproval that I wouldn't take guidance from the man I planned to marry. His parents, his father is a pastor, sat down and gave me what felt like a pre-planned spiel about how I am an adult and need to act like one, and that kicking a man out of his home for doing the right thing was a tantrum. At one point, his dad even said he was so disappointed in me and that he would be telling my
definitely
father,
written
also
by
a pastor,
somebody.
about this. I was honestly dumbfounded for 85% of this, but finally, maybe it was the booze, I started laughing and told them to get out. His dad refused, called me volatile, and suggested I get counseling. I reminded him that this is my house, and I would call the police if they didn't leave. I told them to get the F out. It was the first time I'd cussed in front of them. Pearls were clutched, I was called trashy, and Bess held up her phone, saying, "Okay, I'm calling the cops. She asked you to leave." As they left, I heard his dad say, "You're not marrying that," and they muttered other hurtful things, making a whole show of being sad and disappointed in me. They left, and Todd packed a bag and went with them. He continued texting me invitations to church services, saying, "It will help you," and expressing concern about the path I'm choosing. He mentioned that his parents aren't sure he should marry me, but he loves me and wants what's best for me. I told him I needed space and to leave me alone, but he kept texting. I eventually told him the wedding was off. On Sunday, when I got home from running errands, he was on the porch crying. He had a handwritten letter he wanted to read to me, but I firmly said no and told him to leave. He kept asking me to reconsider, telling me to think about how my choices affect more than just myself. I pointed to my doorbell cam and told him I had footage of me repeatedly asking him to leave, and that Bess had recorded the night when his parents, sister, and he ganged up on me.
Oh, thank you.
I told him to go away.
Thank you.
He threw his hand up as if he was going to strike me,
That
and I
is so,
screamed.
so cute. I've
It was so sudden,
only ever
and
heard
it
of a
scared
few of
me.
these.
He started
Again,
to
I'm new to
apologize,
TikTok
but a
Live,
neighbor
so
came out to see what was happening,
it's
and he just
cool to
left.
see all the different ones.
I texted him to never come back again. He's no longer welcome. I told him I would mail his things to his parents, but he is no longer allowed on my property.
Thank you.
He tried to apologize, but I no longer care to hear any of his words. He left his handwritten letter, which both Bess and I read. She keeps telling me it's just manipulation, but it still breaks me. The locks are getting changed tomorrow, and Bess is helping me pack his stuff. His father is picking it up tonight. I'm just sitting here replaying the past week and a half in my head over and over. I know it's pathetic, but I feel shattered. I haven't been able to really sleep yet, and I don't even feel like I'm in my own body anymore, just going through the motions. Bess is staying with me, but I've been getting texts and social media comments calling me disgusting. This feels like a nightmare, and I'm not sure how to wade through it. Commenter. It's so hard to believe that he kept hidden the fact that he wanted to convert you before marriage. That seems to be the only explanation for his behavior this far into your relationship and so close to the wedding. It feels like he was secretly seeking counsel from his parents while telling you what you wanted to hear. Op's response. It's hard for me to fathom this. I thought we loved each other. I would do almost anything for him, and I believed he felt the same way. But the way his family came down on me, it was surreal. If Bess hadn't been there, I really can't say what they might have convinced me of. It was overwhelming. They were all basically echoing the same sentiments, making me out to be deranged, stupid, and more. I didn't let them see my tears, but their tirade of attacks was devastating. I was exhausted and so deep in my feelings that it was all too much. Bess thinks it was a coordinated effort to overwhelm me into complying, and if I had been alone, they might have pushed me over the edge into believing them.
My internet, my rules. Introducing My Home from Verizon.
Shut up,
Choose
Verizon.
what goes into your internet plan and always
Shut
know
up,
what you pay.
Verizon.
The price is the price.
My friend tried to pressure me into giving her an extra wedding gift, even though I was already making an extravagant cake for her, so I said screw that and billed her for the cake. Now she's crying that a real friend would do it for free. Posted by you/cheesecake88. I, 34F, have a friend, whom I'll call Mary, 33F, who is getting married in 2 weeks. She and I have been friends for several years, and I was excited when she asked me if I could make her cake. I don't normally do cakes anymore for people outside of family and friends, as I'm currently pregnant, have a 1-year-old, and am currently pursuing another master's degree in education administration so I can be a school principal because teaching has no future without an admin license, unfortunately. At the time when she asked, I was also teaching full-time and finishing up a different master's program. Anyway, I agreed to make this cake over a year ago. I told Mary when she offered to pay that I would do it for free as my wedding gift to her. I distinctly said wedding gift. She accepted, and we started planning the design. Mary wanted a 4-tier cake with each tier a different flavor: white, chocolate, yellow, lemon, several sugar flowers and fondant decorations, as well as 3 different flavored buttercreams. It was a lot, but since she is having an August wedding, I had time because school would be out for summer, and I am actually taking a year off since finding out I was pregnant a few months ago. On Saturday, I went to Mary's bachelorette party. The party itself was fine, nothing remarkable happened. I couldn't drink, but everyone had fun. One of Mary's bridesmaids asked what we were all getting her for her wedding. I said I was making the cake for free. The bridesmaid and the other girls there said that was a good gift because cakes are expensive, and they wished they had gotten one for free. That was it, and I heard nothing else about it until today. Mary texted me and asked why I wasn't getting her a wedding
I don't know why
gift.
this
I
YouTube
told
keeps
her I
glitching
was,
out like
and
that.
that it was the cake, reminding her that the cake was free. She said that wasn't a gift, that it was a favor. I told her it's a gift and that she can't tell me what I can gift her. I then asked why she was mentioning it, and she said the bridesmaid I spoke to on Saturday told her that she was so lucky to get a free cake. She agreed but then got upset when the bridesmaid said, "That's a good gift." I asked her if her own bridesmaid thinks it's a good gift, what's the problem? She said it's not up to the bridesmaid to tell her what her gifts are. I told her that this is her gift. She responded that a gift needs to be something she can use in her marriage, not just the cake at the wedding. I explained that with me going to school and not working right now, this is a major expense that I'm taking on by doing it for free. She said that wasn't her problem and that a real friend would do both. I responded with, "Fine, I'll get back to you," and she thanked me for understanding. About 30 minutes later, I sent her a bill for her cake. The bill was for $700, with a deposit of $350 due by this Friday and the rest 24 hours before the event start time. She asked me what that was for, and I told her that since it's not a gift, she needs to pay for it. She said she couldn't afford it, and I told her I didn't care. This is what business looks like. I did promise to get her a gift off her registry, though. She told me no cake is worth $700, but in the bill breakdown, I pointed out where the costs were coming from: ingredients, transportation, her venue is 45 minutes away, additional labor, my husband helps me deliver cakes, so he's getting paid, too, last-minute booking, time, and the size of the cake, along with the intricate decorations she wants. She said she shouldn't be charged for anything since I promised to do it for free, and it's too late to find another baker. I responded, "That sounds an awful lot like not my problem because it isn't." She then asked if I could just do the cake for free and forget the gift, but I said no, this is the new deal, and I haven't responded to her texts since. She and her fiancé were venting in a group message with a wedding party that I'm not in. One of the bridesmaids, who is a mutual friend, asked me what happened after telling me what was being said in the group text. I sent her the messages of our exchange, and now, apparently, the bridal party is divided. Some are saying I should go back and do the cake for free like I originally promised, while others are telling Mary she was wrong. It has apparently become a huge ordeal. Her fiancé
My
is now
cat
mad
is
at both of
walking
us
on the
for being
microphone. I
petty
don't know
and
if you can hear.
ridiculous.
Excuse
My
me, sir.
husband
You
is
can't
on
be
team
there.
Mary can suck an egg and doesn't think I should do the cake or get the gift.
Can't be there.
However, he told me to remember that this could cost me a friendship, but he'd support me either way. He thinks I should stand my ground and not let Mary push me around. However, my husband also doesn't really like Mary for unrelated reasons, so he may be biased. Am I wrong for charging my friend for the cake and refusing to do it for free after she got mad at me? First update 1 day later.
Oh.
I read as many comments as I could. To be honest, I did not expect the number of responses I got, and I responded to who I could. This post was originally going to be about answering as many repeat questions as I could, but this morning, the mutual friend bridesmaid, whom I'll call Pam, messaged me to give me an update. Mary and her fiancé, whom I'll call Frank, are currently not on speaking terms because they got into an argument last night. It wasn't directly because of the cake, but because of what the cake debacle revealed to Frank. Apparently, Mary has been spending a lot of his money on this wedding. Now, we all kind of already knew that. Mary told us that Frank and his family would be footing the bill. He's an engineer, and his family has a lot of money. I'm not exactly sure where their family wealth comes from, but it was enough to pay out of pocket for him and his siblings to attend expensive universities debt-free. What we didn't know is that they've been arguing about the finances this entire time, and my cake was the last straw for Frank. Mary's budget for their wedding was $30,000, but she's apparently spent almost double that on intricate flowers, her wedding dress, decorations, engagement photos, catering, an open bar, entertainment, and flying her family in and paying for their accommodations. The venue alone took a significant chunk of their money due to its size and location, an hour away from where we all live. It's a large house, possibly a mansion, with several acres of land, horses, a lake, and a field for wedding photos. The entire wedding party is supposedly staying there for a few days leading up to the wedding. I haven't seen it in person. Again, I'm not in the wedding party and never was, but the photos online make it obvious why it's so expensive. I had no idea they had spent that much, and neither did anyone in the wedding party. As far as we all knew, the most expensive thing Mary had bought was her wedding dress, which cost $5,000. I only know because I went with her to try some on with other friends and bridesmaids. Pam's fiancé is one of Frank's groomsmen, and Frank has been venting to the groomsmen in texts about how much this wedding is costing. He's not sure he wants to go through with it anymore. However, he feels compelled to because the money has already
Love
been
you, buddy,
spent
but
and
you're
is
literally stepping all over my keyboard.
He said he didn't know Mary would be this way about the wedding because she typically sticks to budgets, which is true. Literally everyone is surprised by how much she is supposedly spending, including my husband and me. Mary is usually the type of person who buys off-brand items at the store to save $1, even when she doesn't really need to. From what Pam told me, Mary asked Frank to just pay me so she could have the cake, and he said no, not because he couldn't afford it, but because he was tired of spending money on just one day. He told her to figure it out herself. So, nobody knows what's going on anymore or if there will even be a wedding. No one has reached out to me about making the cake, either, and my husband, for those wondering, is still on Team Mary can suck an egg. Before anyone asks, no, Mary did not grow up poor. She was very much middle class, like I was, and she's never been broke or anything. She's also never seemed like someone who wanted overly expensive things. She drives a 10-year-old sedan that, despite Frank saying she needs a new car, she won't get rid of because it runs fine, and my dad taught me to drive my cars into the ground. So, believe me when I say it's really out of character for her to be this nonchalant about money. I'm not sure if I'll have another update. If I do, it'll be after the wedding, if there is one. Edit. I know a lot of people are saying things about Mary just using Frank for his money, but at the same time, I want to remember that Pam only gave me Frank's side via what he's been telling the groomsmen. I have no idea what role he's played in this and whether this has really bothered him up to this point or if he's ever mentioned the amount she's been spending to her. It's now 6 p.m., and I haven't spoken to or heard from Mary since yesterday after giving her the quote, so I don't have much more to add beyond my perspective. It really does seem out of character for Mary to be acting this way, but I remember when I got married, my husband said he wanted me to have what made me happy for our wedding. So if Frank has been telling her what my husband told me and still giving her money, then he's definitely not an innocent party in my opinion. Second update 26 days later. So I didn't expect this to actually get read on Charlotte's channel, but since it did, I'll let everyone know what ended up happening. And yes, it's confusing. Long story short, the villain in this situation wasn't, and isn't, Mary, it's Frank. And no, they did not get married. This update is all the information I've gathered from bridesmaid Pam and her fiancé, so bear with me. Most of this is what Mary has told Pam, who then relayed it to me. Anyway, I mentioned before that Mary was, and still is, a frugal person. That's why we all thought the gift and cake situation was strange, as well as her spending so much money on the wedding. It turns out that Mary has actually been trying to save money despite doubling their budget. Apparently, Frank's family always throws extravagant celebrations and parties. This includes birthdays, holidays, graduations, and weddings. So Frank has been emphasizing to Mary that their wedding is supposed to be huge because that's just how his family does things. I'm guessing it's a way to flaunt success, but that's just a guess, I don't actually know the real reason. But Frank has been hands off the entire time. I'm not surprised, my own husband only cared about the food, cake flavor, and making sure the colors weren't pink. However, Frank has been telling Mary to save money since that's what she's good at, and that he didn't want to spend a bunch of money on just one day. So, Mary picked out things that were cheaper but weren't good enough for Frank. For example, that mansion/large house where everyone would be staying? That was Frank's idea. Mary apparently wanted to book a hotel that hosted weddings because her family could stay there for less money, and the hotel was overall cheaper to host a wedding compared to a literal mansion with horses. Frank would do this with everything, vetoing her choices of decorations and vendors because they weren't big enough or extravagant enough. He even dictated how big her bouquet had to be and insisted that her dress needed to have lots of bling. So basically, Mary had been trying to stick to the budget, but what was within the budget didn't match Frank's taste or expectations. So when I said she had to pay for the cake, Frank accused Mary of not saving them money, despite her being so money conscious. And Mary wasn't the one who had the problem with the cake, it was Frank. I guess they both knew the cake was free, but Frank didn't realize I was making it as a gift. When Mary explained that I was, he said that didn't
I just
count
realized
and
they
told her
both
to ask
have
me about it. He argued
crooked
that it didn't count
antennas.
because friends doing favors for an
Opposite
event like a wedding
sides.
isn't a real gift. On some
Frack
level,
theory.
she must have agreed because she didn't mention Frank being the one
Mr.
with the problem
Puzzles
in our
is V's
messages,
father.
but whatever.
Frack
Anyway,
theory.
the cake was what Mary was really looking
Must
forward to
donate to
because it was the
artists
only thing she felt she had 100%
Oh my
control
Thank
over regarding
you.
the wedding.
That's
When
so
I charged
nice.
her for it, Frank got upset that Mary wasn't saving them money like he expected, which led to a
I
fight
really
where they ended
appreciate
up
that.
not on speaking terms.
I'm
When Frank was
really bad with like trying to show appreciation sometimes, so I just want to be perfect. I just want you to know how much I appreciate that. Thank you. It means a lot. This is our cast so far. Oh. Certain colors because my usual background color is gray. Got the Mr. Puzzle song stuck in my head. That's probably why I chose Mr. Puzzle. Oh, thank you for the roses. Oh, and thank you, cool. The cats are cool. Oh, my screen is so small I can't see. I zoom in. Dancing guy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. The support is awesome. I don't even know how to like express how much this I appreciate this. This is our gang. These are all V colors and the use accessory silver. This is it's like a weird. It's hard. Okay, it's really hard to get colors from him because he's a 3D model. So in every photo, he's slightly different colors. So Try not to put too many details in it, but it doesn't look like Mr. Puzzle. There we go. I don't have the patience to put the pants pattern in there. He's got like a puzzle pattern on his pants. I have patience for that. There they are! Look at that. Got all the designs done. Progress. Food goods. We have all the designs done. Astro's part is done. Deli's part is drawn and broken up. It hasn't been keyframed yet, or it hasn't been assigned to pegs or anything, but that's fine. That's part of the like anime. Fun. The next part. Routes part. Please tag me in it when it's posted. It's the fashion meme. Yes, it is. I can. I will try to remember. That is just Shelly. Should be able to look. I think I should. I should be able to look you up since you donated for scent roses and stuff. Should be able to look you up. But hopefully, it'll be up Halloween night at the latest November 1st. Hopefully I'll get it done on Halloween night, but there's no guarantees because I have class tomorrow morning. And then I have to run errands before Halloween night. But I might stream Halloween night. It really just depends. I also know I'm going to be having to stop and get up for trick-or-treaters. Really just depends about these. I really need to go to bed, but grind never stops. What pose? Hmm?
Was complaining to Pam's fiancé and the rest of the groomsmen via text. Mary apparently found the messages. According to Pam, Mary left Frank for making her seem like a greedy BTCH to everyone when she was only getting the things Frank wanted without his help. She told him that if it were up to her, they wouldn't have most of the expensive things she bought for the wedding. The only contact I've had from Mary was an apology text message. When I told her it was okay and that we were still friends, she didn't respond. In fact, she hasn't responded to anyone except to inform the wedding party that the wedding was off, apologize for the inconvenience, and then she went quiet. She did post a long apology on her social media for canceling. She said postponed, but I noticed her relationship status is gone. The location/check-in on her post is in her hometown where her parents live, not where we live, so I think she went back to her parents' house after calling off the wedding. But that's all I know, and I heard it secondhand from Pam. According to Pam, Frank is upset that Mary left because all his money is tied up in vendors that he can't get back, and he's been trying to plead his case with the groomsmen. However, only his brother is on his side. Pam's fiancé and the other groomsmen have stopped talking to him. Also, I heard Charlotte asking why Mary wasn't paying for the wedding, too. I can't answer that definitively, but Mary works as an STNA and doesn't make a lot. Her bachelor's degree is in psychology, and she never went on to get her doctorate, so getting employed in her field isn't very easy. I also don't know if they're still together. Mary didn't explicitly say they broke up, just that the wedding is postponed/cancelled. I apologize if this confused anyone, but I'll try to answer anything I can in the comments. Just remember I heard most of this secondhand, aside from the apology I got from Mary and the post she made online, so I may not have all the answers. Commenter.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
go to
understand
bed.
the
You're welcome for
connection
the
between Mary
support.
wanting a
Thank
gift and a free cake
you.
to
Have a
Frank
good
paying the bill.
night.
Isn't Mary still wrong for asking for a gift? Ops response. She is, but she apologized, and I accepted it. The only part I'm not clear on is how it even came up as a conversation between her and Frank. It might have just been casual, or she may have been talking on speakerphone. I do that with my husband in the room, so he sometimes hears my conversations even if he's not part of them. It sounds like Frank was upset that they were now paying for the cake when he thought it would be free, and the goal was to spend as little money as possible on nice stuff. I'm guessing that if I had agreed to do the cake and given them a bill from the beginning instead of volunteering to do it for free, I would have been dealing with that's too expensive for a cake or we're friends, I should get a discount. There likely would have been negotiating from the start, regardless. I've had people pull those lines on me before, which is another reason why I rarely do cakes for people, even if they offer to pay. They still want some type of discount and get mad when I don't give one.
Oh. Okay, I guess that one is over.
Hey there, welcome to voice acting in this anime. First, I need a nodding sound.
Nods make sounds?
They do an anime.
My wife blew up at me and accused me of cheating, saying she had proof. She refuses to show me it, so now I need to show her actions have consequences by divorcing her. Posted by you/OK_cartoonist5220. I, 44M, have been married to my wife, Grace, 42F, for 13 years, together for 16. Quick backstory, I met Grace around the time I got out of the military. It was a medical discharge, and I met her while I was at the hospital for surgery. She was a nurse on the floor where I was staying, a single mom, divorced for a couple of years. I left the military, went back to school, and now I work from home as a software engineer, more or less. We started dating and took it slow for the first couple of years because of her daughter, Maya, who was 5 at the time. Grace is still a nurse, and Maya is now in college. Until last month, I would have said that our marriage was pretty solid. We've had arguments, and I admit I was kind of terrible at housekeeping when we first moved in together because I wasn't used to how much kids can tear things up around the house. But other than that, it was good. There were no step-parent issues. I had an active role in Maya's life because her father lives overseas for work. We went on dates, and intimacy has always been great. We wanted kids, but it wasn't in the cards for us. Honestly, I'm a bit blindsided. I've had friends who were blindsided by divorce, but I never understood how. Usually, there were problems they glossed over, and then suddenly their wives would leave them, and they just didn't see it coming. But the rest of us could see it coming from a mile away. So here I am saying the same thing, and maybe I just missed something huge. The past few months, Grace has been more stressed than usual. Ever since COVID, she's been burnt out, and I asked her multiple times if she wanted to quit her job, at least for a couple of years. I thought the burnout was coming to a head. She was withdrawn and angry. She snapped at me constantly and ridiculed Maya over everything. But she's my wife, and she was traumatized by the pandemic, so both Maya and I were understanding. We would do okay with just my salary, so last month I sat her down to suggest again that she quit and take some time off to heal. Then everything blew up. She started yelling at me, saying she knew what I was doing and that she'd known for months. She claimed to have proof. I didn't know what she was talking about at first, but it didn't take long to realize she was accusing me of infidelity.
Where
I
it
can't
hits.
lie,
This is
I
where
was
I'm
angry
hitting a
as hell.
wall.
I opened my
Losing
phone,
motivation.
handed it to her, and told her to go through it. I then got my laptop, unlocked it, and told her to go through that as well. The whole time, she kept shouting at me about some other woman. I don't have traditional social media accounts. I'm on Lobsters, Hacker News, and I have a Reddit account. I told her to check everything. There's no secret Facebook, Instagram, or anything like that. No messages from anyone. I even opened Discord and Slack, everything I could think of. But she wouldn't even look at it. She just got angrier and angrier, and then she picked up my laptop and threw it. That's when I had enough and left. I went to my parents' house. All the while, Grace was texting, calling, and leaving increasingly unhinged messages about this woman she was convinced I was with. When I got to my parents' house, I called her once and told her I needed a few days because I was too angry to talk. The next morning, my sister called and told me that Grace had also called her multiple times to check if I was really there. After a few days, I called Grace to talk, and at first, the conversation was productive. She apologized for throwing the laptop but said I made her so angry because I was being so calm. I told her I wasn't calm. I was furious because I was being accused of cheating on my wife. But I felt it was better to try to talk it out than to start shouting, which I didn't think was a good idea. Then she got angry, accused me of twisting her words, and things quickly fell apart. She started going on and on again, insisting that she knew I was cheating and that she had proof. I asked her what proof she had because I wanted to see it. I don't remember how we got to this point, but she said she was going to send everything to the lawyer. I responded by saying fine, send a copy to mine because this was going nowhere. She got really quiet after that and asked if I was serious. I told her I wasn't going to stay in a marriage where my wife thinks I cheated on her but won't tell me why. We ended the call there, and I've been at my parents' house since. My dad is on my side. My mom thinks Grace is just having a rough time and believes we can talk this through. My sister is upset that she got dragged into it, so she thinks we're both at fault. Maya is miserable because she's being torn between me and her mom. I feel like maybe I jumped the fence and should have stayed calmer. Edit. My morning meetings are finally over, and I need to concentrate on my job, so I'm logging out for the day. I'm going to talk to my mom to see if she'll reach out to Grace and suggest therapy, couples therapy, etc. I believe those of you who suggested missing reasons are correct. Something is causing this. I just don't know if it's something I've done, stress in her life, or if it's full-on projection. I don't think it is, but you never know. I'll reassure Maya again that she has a place here no matter what. As far as I'm concerned, she's my daughter, and of course, she has a place here if she needs it. However, I also won't try to pressure her, considering that's her mom, and I know this situation is pulling her in two directions. Edit. Okay, so I took a quick break and thought I'd come back to read a couple of comments, but there are way too many to go through. However, there seems to be an overall theme, so I'll try to address it quickly here. 1. Someone asked if I was cheating. I understand why you'd ask that. I never explicitly said it in the post. But let me assure you, no, I'm not cheating. I never have. Granted, those are just words, and I'm sure some might think I'm lying. But I love my wife. I never wanted to cheat. I'm not a saint. I've been attracted to people, but the thought of cheating has never crossed my mind. 2. A lot of people think she's cheating on me. Again, I don't think so. She's home every night at the same time, and she doesn't hide her devices.
I do need to go to bed though, because I have class in the morning.
Yes. Do I think she's cheating? No. But as many have pointed out, those can be famous last words. 3. Talking about divorce and staying calm. I have PTSD, and over the years, I've worked a lot in therapy to process intense emotions. It's why I stay calm, not because I actually feel calm, but because if I don't, I get overwhelmed. The talk to my lawyer comment was one of those moments where I didn't process well. I don't think it's a good idea to divorce her after over a decade together because of what's happened in the past month. On the other hand, I know that because it's not a safe place for me mentally right now, I'll stay at my parents' house until we get this resolved. 4. Could it be hormones? Yes, it could be. However, my wife is already taking hormones due to a medical procedure she had in her early 30s. As I mentioned, it wasn't in the cards for us to have kids. She usually sees the doctor every 6 months to check her levels, and her last appointment was in March. However, her mood changes started before that. 5. Mental health issues? This is what I think it is, personally. As I mentioned, Grace has been building up to burnout for a while now. These mood changes started some time ago, which is why I initially suggested she take time off work and brought it up again last month when she blew up at me. I believe this is stress related, and that's why I haven't actually contacted a lawyer. I hope my marriage can be saved. I think I just wanted reassurance from a neutral third party because I'm so far out of my depth here. 6. To those who say not to get my mom involved, my mom already is. She and Grace are incredibly close, and she's been calling Grace every day to check on her. Grace has no contact with her own family, so I'm not really involving my mom as much as just asking her to suggest marriage counseling the next time she calls. I certainly don't want to involve any other parties in this, so I'm not going to contact a friend to talk to my wife. 7. I haven't been completely out of contact with my wife since I left. I probably should have clarified that. She messages me, and sometimes it's the same silly stuff we've always talked about, like random memes she's found or things her coworkers are doing. But other times, she's begging me to just tell her the truth. I'm mentally exhausted from all of this and at the end of my rope. I've suggested therapy a couple of times already, but it hasn't gotten anywhere. Hopefully, My mom bringing it up might help. I think that's everything. I want to add, though, please don't disparage my wife. I'm upset over this because my wife is a great woman. She's smart, funny, and sweet. She's been a wonderful mother, and that's why I've been so worried these past few months, because this behavior is so out of character for her. Update 3 days later. I'm sorry if this isn't the right community, but my friend suggested it, and I thought maybe it might be the right place to vent or get advice. I'm not sure what information is necessary or relevant, so I'm just going to write down everything I can think of. I've been married to my wife, Grace, for 13 years, and we've been together for 16. When we first got together, she told me she was low/no contact with her family. There was some obvious trauma related to it, and as someone with PTSD, I respected that she might not be ready to share the details. Plus, my family loved her, so I was happy to share mine with her. After dating for a while, right before I proposed, she told me more about her family. Grace comes from a deeply fundamentalist Christian family. I know the umbrella of authority concept was a big deal, along with marrying young and a lot of other really messed up stuff. She got married at 16 to the son of family friends, who was 19 at the time. In a way, she was kind of lucky because her ex-husband moved her across the state and away from her family, which allowed her to finish school and start college. From what I can gather, he wanted out of the cult as well. She had their daughter, Maya, when she was 21, and he was finishing up his last year of school. When he completed school, he went off to grad school in Europe, and she moved back home to her family. They got divorced soon after. After the divorce, her family tried to marry Grace off to a man who was over twice her age, which was her cue to finally get out. From what little she's told me, it wasn't an easy exit. There was a lot of violence involved, and she suggested there had been SA or attempted kidnapping by the older man. However, she eventually managed to escape. She took her daughter, moved in with a distant aunt, and cut off most of her family. A few years later, she met me, and the rest was history. Until this year. The past few months, my wife has been very snappish, with sudden bouts of anger and withdrawal. She's a nurse, and at first, I thought she was burnt out. She worked for days at a time with no break during the pandemic, and I figured the trauma of that and the constant stress of COVID was finally taking its toll. I suggested a few times that maybe she should take some time off. The last time I suggested it, she blew up at me and started accusing me of cheating. It was an intense fight, she said she had proof, and when I asked to see it, she threw my laptop. That's when I left. We had another fight over the phone a bit later, where she said she'd send the proof of my infidelity to a lawyer, and I told her to pass it on to mine. After that, we mostly communicated via text, with her mostly sending me updates about work or silly memes. Periodically, she would plead with me to tell her the truth about the cheating, but I had no idea what she was talking about. For the past few weeks, I've been waiting to see what proof she had, hoping she would talk to me more than just sending a few memes here and there, anything to clarify the situation. I've been living with my parents, and it's been incredibly stressful. I thought I was never going to find out what was going on until a few days ago when she showed up at my parents' house to talk. Finally, she told me the proof of my cheating. Her coworker had claimed to have seen me with another, much younger woman. So okay, I can handle that. I asked some follow-up questions. What did she look like? Where was this? Etc. I quickly figure out that she's talking about Maya. We sometimes go to the hospital to have lunch with her, and her coworker must have seen us together. Simple mistake, right? Except my wife knew that her coworker was describing Maya and was more or less suggesting that I was cheating on her with the child I helped raise and who calls me dad. I tried not to get angry because I know she has a lot of trauma related to older men being with younger women, especially after what her parents tried to force her to do. But at the same time, I felt disgusted and betrayed that she'd ever think I'd do something like that. The conversation quickly devolved into another argument. During that argument, she admitted that it wasn't just any coworker, it was her first cousin, Shalia. And Shalia is still in the church. It all started tumbling out. She's been hanging out with Shalia during downtime, calling and talking to her dad, the same man who tried to marry her off to someone older than I am now. She's even been going to church meetings again when I thought she was at work. And you know what? The church stuff wouldn't be a problem on its own. If she wants to be Christian, that's her choice. But the issue is that everything she's saying is a contradiction to everything else she's been saying. First, she claims I'm in my prime years for having children. I'm 44. I'm past my prime for kids. Maya is 21, and while I'm thrilled to have her living at home, I'm also thrilled that she can clean her own bathroom. Because my dad is secular Jewish, according to my wife, he's evil, and that evil is passed down to me. My mom is even more evil because she was supposedly Christian, though she never really was. Her family was lapsed Catholic, and I'm not sure she's ever even been to Mass. But because my mom turned her back on the church and didn't raise me as a Christian, that's also evil. This is the same woman who loves my wife probably more than she loves me, yet now, according to my wife, she's a sinner and deceitful. But more than all of that, the part that makes me the sickest, the part that pushed me to actually call a lawyer, is that my wife suggested our daughter, this brilliant, amazing kid who loves her mom so much, is somehow to blame because she's young and flaunting herself. It's all jumbled up in my brain. There was so much more. She went on for what felt like hours before I finally asked her to leave. She claimed I wasn't a good provider because she had to work. I reminded her that I had been suggesting she take time off from work, but evidently, That was proof that I was just trying to isolate her from her family. There were so many tangents and conspiracies, like the idea that my suggesting she get therapy, which I've been doing since before the pandemic, and especially after, was actually me trying to brainwash her to be okay with me having an affair with Maya. I don't understand any of it. I don't know where to go from here or how to even begin. That evening, after my wife left, Maya called me in tears because her mom had said some really awful things to her. So I told Maya to come stay with my parents and me, which just added fuel to the fire. Now, Grace thinks we're living together. I called a lawyer, and I think my marriage is over. I don't know what to do. I can't tell where the fundamentalist beliefs end and the conspiracy theories begin, or what I'm even supposed to do to fix things, if fixing things is even possible. I don't know how I missed things falling apart to this extent. I'm completely lost. Update 2 1 week later.
Shut up, Ed.
I saw my wife earlier today. I wanted to sit down and start discussing what divorce was going to look like between us. We have over a decade of our finances, our home, and our lives intertwined. I've been paying for Maya's school, and it's her job that provides most of our insurance coverage. I put the down payment on our house, but she's paid off just as much of it as I have. We'll have lawyers handle all of this, but I wanted to look her in the eyes and make her see the reality of what she's doing. Divorce isn't just a word, it's a real, concrete thing. The lives we've been living will be over as we know them. We're not old, it's not like we can't move on from this, but at the same time, I've been her husband for so long that I don't know who I am without her. When I got home, I started drinking and haven't stopped all evening. It's effing stupid, don't do what I did. I just couldn't stop. I kept seeing her sitting across from me, refusing to look at me. I don't know her anymore, and I'm not sure if I ever did. My therapist talks about masking, right? Because of the PTSD, ADHD, and all that. I mask a lot with coworkers or clients, but I never had to mask at home. And now I'm wondering if, throughout this entire marriage, she was just masking being happy with me. It's devastating to wonder if she was miserable the whole time. Did she choose me because I was stable and a good father figure for Maya? I'm not ugly, but I'm not handsome either. Our bedroom life was good, or was it? Was she just going through the motions because of what she learned as a kid, that she had to please her husband? I feel sick thinking about it. I feel like I might have unknowingly abused her because I don't know how much of it was really her and how much was just the programming she went through in that church. And Maya, Christ, Maya is just, she's not doing great. She's trying so hard to be stoic and strong, but she's my baby girl. I taught her how to fish, and she's better at it than I am. She taught me how to knit when I was having trouble with work during the pandemic and struggling with the lockdown. She's such an amazing kid, and she's hurting, and I hate Grace for that. I hate her for hurting our kid. But I love her, and that hurts too. I don't know what the point of this was. I came back to read over the theories about her cheating on me or going through menopause.
I think everyone else has gone to bed, which makes sense. It's about 1:30 a.m. for me, so
and it's just over. It's so effing over. Let that be a lesson. Sometimes things just end, and there is nothing any of us can do about it.
Oh, and there goes that story. Oh, oh, there goes my cat. Excuse me, sir. Thank you. And with that, I think I'm gonna call this one here. Try and see if I can't bang out the rest of this tomorrow. Hopefully I can. But it is Halloween night, so we'll see. Right, for anyone who's still hanging out here, thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna be going to bed now, because I'm